Chapter 377. As a 3-star enlightened master, the result of the battle between Yang Gang and Nanshinyue was obvious. Even though Nanshinyue's strength was at the peak of the 2-star enlightened masters, she could not withstand one attack from Yang Gang's condensing palm when using her astrology. Yang Gang's performance had made all the spectating warriors believe that no one could shake his first place on the Earth Xian ranking list. Yang Gang and Nanshinyue were both disciples of the orthodox sections. Nanshinyue was not angry that she had lost to Yang Gang. The two smiled at each other and left the arena. Yang Gang's black robe fluttered in the wind. He had the temperament of an elite warrior who had reached the peak. He glanced at the other junior geniuses calmly and was full of confidence. The second battle began immediately. Mengji and Xianxia arrived at the arena at the same time. The martial artists observing the battle all perked up their spirits, paying full attention to the battle. This was a peak battle. One was a 3-star enlightened master and the other had the battle strength of a 3-star enlightened master. The two were at the same level. Who was stronger and who was weaker? It was hard to tell at the moment. Because it was hard to tell, it attracted the attention of the spectating warriors. They all opened their eyes wide and focused on this battle. Mengji and Xianxia belonged to different factions. Their relationship was not as friendly as Yang Gang and Nanshinyue. As soon as the two entered the arena, their auras were at odds with each other and filled with the smell of gunpowder. Mengji came from the Boundless sect, one of the 3 strongest sects among the 9 upper sects. He had a sense of arrogance. Even if his opponent was the famous Xianxia, Mengji still had a proud expression on his face. On Xianxia's face, there was a trace of an evil smile. He was not serious and did not seem to be pressured by Mengji. The two raised their hands and their weapons appeared in their hands. Xianxia's weapon was a giant black sword, and Mengji's weapon was a long green blade. Both were upper spiritual weapons. Breaking sea blade technique. Multiple mountains sword technique. The two did not waste any time. Their auras were at odds with each other. After staring at each other fiercely for a while, they both unleashed their upper spiritual weapons and attacked each other. Bang 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 bang, the saber and sword clashed, sparks flew, and astral light shot in all directions. Waves of energy surged to the sky. Mengji's saber force was like the sea, surging and boundless. Every saber strike was earth-shattering. Xianxia's sword aura was as heavy as a mountain. Every time he swung his sword, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. This was a battle between 2 powerful warriors. As the saber and sword clashed, the sound waves shook the sky. Some of the Star Vortex Realm warriors on the spectator stand felt an unbearable pain in their eardrums after being hit by the sound waves. The exchange between the two was fast and ruthless. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 moves. Mengji, Meng Chen's Qi, Meng's master to the level martial Meng. As for Mengji, he stepped back repeatedly. There was an expression of shock in his eyes. Although he had heard that Xianxia possessed the strength of a 3-star reverend, it was, after all, only hearsay. Before fighting, Mengji did not believe that Xianxia would be a match for him. Martial battle was martial. After a dozen moves, Xianxia stopped attacking and laughed. Mengji, you are not as strong as I expected. Ha! There is no need to waste any more time. Unleash your astrology. Let's decide the winner soon. Mengji's face turned pale. He had to admit that if he did not use his astrology, he would not be Xianxia's opponent. Mengji said, "All right, I will show you my peak strength." Whoosh, a ray of starlight shot out from between Mengji's eyebrows. Instantly, it turned into a giant star and floated in the sky. Above the star, there was a vast ocean that emitted strong star energy. It was an upper-level astrology. Xianxia unleashed his astrology at the same time. Above the star, there were giant stone mountains. The strength of the star energy was not weaker than Mengji's astrology. Xianxia's mountain aura had reached an extremely high level. The power contained in his astrology was also related to the mountain aura. The two complemented each other and unleashed a terrifying power. The giant black sword danced. Star energy surged like the shadow of a mountain. As Xianxia attacked Mengji, he shouted, "Multiple mountains break the sky. Lose for me." Xianxia's multiple mountain swordsmanship had exceeded the initial level. Combined with the power of the astrology and the mountain aura, its power was terrifying. With a wave of the giant black sword, the void cracked. Strong winds rose and formed a tornado that rushed into the sky. It stirred up the wind and clouds. It looked as if the sky and earth had become one. Meng Ji's pressure multiplied. However, at this moment, under the eyes of thousands of people, he could not retreat in front of Xianxia. He used the sea aura. Surging water-type star energy poured down. He unleashed the initial level sea-breaking saber technique and slashed forward, splitting sea-breaking waves. The power of the two's attack was too terrifying. The saber light and the sword shadow had disappeared. Only two dazzling balls of energy were left. They collided fiercely. Then, there was an explosion. Boom! The sound of the explosion shook the heavens. The terrifying energy splashed in all directions, setting off a layer of horrifying airwaves. In an instant, the airwaves spread in all directions and rushed toward the spectator stands. In the fighting arena, a transparent light shield suddenly appeared and shrouded the fighting arena. This caused the terrifying airwaves to be confined within the fighting arena. Otherwise, those celestial vortex realm warriors would have been seriously injured under the impact of the terrifying airwaves. As for the young geniuses at the edge of the arena, they were directly hit by the terrifying shockwave. However, all of the young geniuses who were still in the arena were at the level of a 2-star sage. Their protective chi blocked the shockwave. Ordinary warriors could only see the collision of the two dazzling balls of energy. However, some powerful martialists, as well as some martialists with amazing eyesight, saw that Meng Ji's body had shot backwards at the same time the astral light exploded. It was obvious that he had been defeated in this collision. After a full 3 breaths, the terrifying airwaves calmed down and the dazzling airwaves disappeared. Xianxia held the huge black sword in his hand and stood still. Meng Ji, on the other hand, was already a few hundred meters away. He half knelt on the ground and used the saber in his hand to support his trembling body. A series of gasps could be heard. The warriors were shocked. They had only heard that Xianxia could fight above his level. Now, they were witnessing it with their own eyes. Hearing this news was not as terrifying as witnessing it with their own eyes. Xianxia held the huge black sword in his right hand and placed it on his shoulder. He pointed at Meng Ji with his left hand and shouted, "Meng Ji, you have lost." In the spectator stands, many warriors cheered. To ordinary warriors, they were happy to see a genius who could fight above his level. At the edge of the fighting arena, Yang Gang's eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Xianxia had defeated Meng Ji, which was enough to threaten his position as number 1 on the Earth Profound ranking. As for the other 3-star True Master, Bai Tsong, he frowned slightly. His strength was not much different from Meng Ji's. Even if he were to face Xianxia, he would most likely lose. Although they were both disciples of the evil path, Bai Tsong was not willing to see Xianxia surpass him. In the pavilion, the 9 venerables had different expressions. The one with the worst expression was none other than the Boundless Sect's Venerable Wuji. Meng Ji was a disciple of the Boundless Sect that he had personally taught. At the age of 24, he was already a 3-star True Master. His future achievements would be great. With the 7-star Yellow Fate Heavenly Mandate, he would definitely become a Venerable. If he had the opportunity, he might even surpass Venerable Wuji. In the Boundless Sect, Meng Ji was the number 1 genius in over 100 years. However, he could not even enter the top 4 in the Young Hero Assembly. Venerable Wuji was naturally disappointed. In contrast to Venerable Wuji's ugly expression, Venerable Withered Bone of the White Bone Sect, Venerable Huali of the Fire Cloud Sect, and Venerable Sky Snake of the Spiritual Snake Sect were all smiling. As the representative of the evil path, their disciple Xianxia had defeated the Boundless Sect's Meng Ji. This was naturally something to be happy about. Venerable Withered Bone gloated, "Venerable Wuji, the younger generation of the Boundless Sect is not good enough. The Boundless sect is one of the 3 strongest sects, but their disciples can't even enter the top 4. Venerable Sky Snake also chuckled. Sure, Wuxia won this round, and Baizong won the next round. In this year's competition, our Evil Path's disciples will occupy half of the top 4. It's not just half. Venerable Hua Li waved his hand to interrupt Venerable Sky Snake. My sect's disciple Shui Yan is invincible below the 3-star True Master level. Yi Xing is definitely not his match. The Evil Path's disciples will occupy 3 of the top 4. Yesterday he owed another chapter. He owed a total of 6 chapters in May. Today he began to make up for it. What a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow Kdred's official account on WeChat. Chapter 378. Wishful Thinking. Golden Sword Sect's Venerable Sword Ju coldly said, "The winner of the next battle will definitely be my Golden Sword Sect's disciple, Mu Xiaoyue." It's simply daydreaming for the Evil Path's disciples to obtain 3 of the top 4. Scarlet Cloud Sect's Venerable Xianxia said, Yi Xing's strength is obvious to all. Shui Yan will most likely lose against him. It's also impossible for the Evil Path's disciples to obtain half of the top 4. Venerable Dried Bones indifferently glanced at Venerable Sword Ju and said, Mu Xiaoyue has just become a 1-star enlightened master. Can he defeat 3-star enlightened master? Mu Xiaoyue is indeed very strong, but he can at most last a few moves against 3-star enlightened. It's impossible for him to defeat Baizong. Although Yi Xing's performance was heaven-defying, Venerable Hua Li naturally wouldn't boost the morale of others and diminish his own prestige. He said, Shui Yan will definitely defeat Yi Xing. Just wait and see. Venerable Wu Yu of Big Dipper sect raised his hand and stopped the argument. He said, Baizong and Mu Xiaoyue have already entered the arena. Before long, Yi Xing and Shui Yan's battle will also be decided. What's the point of arguing here? The result will depend on the performance of the younger generation. Venerable Wu Yu, Venerable Qin Feng, and Venerable Qing Hong all looked at the arena. They also didn't want the Evil Path's disciples to be too strong. They hoped that Venerable Sword Ju's words were true and that Mu Xiaoyue would be able to defeat Baizong. In the arena, Mu Xiaoyue and Baizong stood facing each other. Both of their white robes fluttered in the wind, but their temperaments were as different as heaven and earth. Mu Xiaoyue's temperament was otherworldly. It was as if he had merged with heaven and earth. He looked like a person from a painting. As for Baizong, although he was wearing white robes, there were a few white skeletons on his robes that destroyed the pure white image, and emitted an evil aura. Baizong raised his hand and a white scepter appeared in his hand. Mu Xiaoyue, everyone says that you are the #1 genius of the true Xian region in the last 1,000 years. You are indeed very outstanding, and in the future, you might even surpass me. But now, in front of me, Baizong, you will undoubtedly lose. Mu Xiaoyue calmly looked at Baizong and said, If I want to surpass you, why would I need to wait for the future? I can do it now. Baizong's face turned cold. He snorted softly and said, You're only a 1-star sage and you want to defeat me? I don't believe you have such strength. Mu Xiaoyue's expression remained calm as he said, Once my sword is unsheathed, it must see blood. To deal with you, a single sword is enough. 1 sword strike? Mu Xiaoyue had defeated Shidu with a single sword strike. Now, his opponent had changed to 3-star sage Baizong, and it was still a single sword strike? In an instant, countless exclamations and even an uproar came from the spectator stands. It was already very difficult for a Star Realm sage to have outstanding battle strength in the same realm. To be able to contend with a sage 1 realm higher was already an incredible genius. To be able to defeat a sage 1 realm higher was already a monstrous genius that appeared once in 1,000 years. To be able to defeat an opponent 2 realms higher in the Star Realm, that was even more rare in 1,000 years. Monstrous geniuses that appeared once in 1,000 years. First, There was Mu Xiaoyue, then there was Xianxia, and then there was Yi Xing, a half-step sage who could defeat a 2-star sage. Now, in the ranks of geniuses, was Mu Xiaoyue going to take another step forward and become a rare genius like Yi Xing? It was extremely rare for such a monstrous genius to appear. Even after thousands of years of accumulation, it was hard to find one. How could they appear one after another? The martial artists were in disbelief. Baicong was even more in disbelief. He thought that Mu Xiaoyue was insulting him, so he angrily shouted, "Arrogant!" Mu Xiaoyue casually raised his hand, and the sword on his back flew out of the scabbard and landed in his hand. He said, "If I can't defeat you with one strike, then I'll consider this battle my loss." Mu Xiaoyue's calm tone shocked all the martial artists. Could it be that Mu Xiaoyue was not bluffing? Yi Xing's eyes flashed. He was one of the martial artists who believed in Mu Xiaoyue's strength the most. He knew that Mu Xiaoyue was not bluffing, but he was still shocked by Mu Xiaoyue's strength. Even Yang Gang, who was at the peak of the 3rd stage of the Star Realm, could not defeat Baicong in one strike. Baicong also sensed that something was wrong from Mu Xiaoyue's tone. His face turned grim, and a terrifying aura burst out from him. Dazzling light burst out from the white scepter. A streak of starlight rushed out from between Baicong's eyebrows and turned into a huge yellow star. It was a high-grade Earth-attributed star. The Earth-attributed star power fell, making Baicong's aura even more powerful. The light from the white scepter became even more dazzling. "Take my move, mountain-shaking tiger," Baicong roared. The white scepter in his hand turned into a dazzling light, and he struck at Mu Xiaoyue with it. Upper-grade spiritual martial art, bone-shattering staff art, mountain-shaking tiger. The bone-shattering staff art focused on the power of vibration. When the staff hit the body, it might not look like anything on the outside, but the bones inside the body would be shattered. When it was cultivated to the highest level, one strike was enough to shatter all the rocks inside a mountain. It was a very fierce and domineering martial art. Baicong's earth force had reached a very high level. It had the power to shake the earth, which made the bone-shattering staff art extremely powerful. When the staff hit, the dazzling light was so dazzling that people could not look at it directly. Within the light, there was the shadow of a huge mountain and a fierce tiger that shook the heavens and earth. Some martial artists were intimidated by Baicong's aura and could not help but shrink their necks. They were shocked. If they were to face Baicong's mountain-shaking tiger, they would be smashed into meat paste. Although many martial artists were shocked, none of them blinked. Baicong's attack was so terrifying. They all wanted to see how Mu Xiaoyue would defend against it. Facing such a terrifying attack, could Mu Xiaoyue defeat Baicong with one strike? Most of the martial artists were doubtful. Just as Baicong made his move, a ray of golden starlight shot out from between Mu Xiaoyue's eyebrows. He had also used the astrology. The golden starlight turned into a huge golden star that emitted dazzling golden light and revealed an extremely sharp presence. When all the martial artists saw Mu Xiaoyue's astrology, their pupils could not help but shrink. They found it dazzling and difficult to look at it directly. As he used the astrology, Mu Xiaoyue shouted and waved the spiritual weapon in his hand, Golden Light Drizzle Sword. The Golden Light Drizzle Sword was one of the killing moves of the Golden Light Sword art. As the sword light flashed, it instantly turned into a sky full of golden light. Mu Xiaoyue's figure disappeared at this moment. What was left was a sky full of golden sword light that was like a drizzle. The sword light that was like a drizzle was connected with the aura of the golden astrology. It had an extremely sharp and terrifying presence. At this moment, the space in all directions was cut into pieces. Moreover, because the power of this move was too strong, even the formations and restrictions of the arena were affected. A transparent light barrier appeared and enveloped the arena. One could see that when the countless drizzling sword light collided with the light shield, it created countless ripples. As soon as Mu Xiaoyue used this move, everything within 1,000 meters would be destroyed by the sword light, including Baicong's dazzling sword light and the shadow of the tiger. Instantly, there was an ear-piercing sound of the air being torn apart. Under the attack of the golden light, Baicong's move, Knock on the Mountain, Scare the Tiger, was cut into pieces by the drizzle sword light in the blink of an eye. Although the golden light sword art was only a middle spiritual martial art, Mu Xiaoyue had trained it to the transformation stage. Compared to Bai Tsong's initial stage bone-shattering staff technique, it was more powerful. Moreover, Mu Xiaoyue's gold force had reached the subtle stage. It was far beyond Bai Tsong's earth force. In terms of martial arts and force, Mu Xiaoyue completely suppressed Bai Tsong. Even if there was a difference of 2 stages between them, Bai Tsong could not block Mu Xiaoyue's move. In the blink of an eye, the drizzling sword light disappeared. Everything in the arena calmed down. Mu Xiaoyue had already appeared a few hundred meters behind Bai Tsong. The spiritual weapon sword in his hand was pointed diagonally to the ground. It shone brightly like the moonlight. He still had that otherworldly temperament, like a person from a painting. However, Bai Tsong was in a sorry state. His clothes were tattered and hung on his body. There were cracks everywhere. There was even a sword mark on his chest that had cut open his flesh. Blood was gushing out. He was injured. The spectators' stands were silent. Mu Xiaoyue had defeated Bai Tsong with 1 move. All the warriors were dumbfounded. They even forgot to take a deep breath. This is a good event for free. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and join now. Everyone has a prize. Follow Kdred's official account now. Chapter 379. First it was Meng Ji, then it was Bai Tsong. The 2 3-star venerables had both been defeated in this round of competition. Neither of them were able to enter the top 4. This result was something that the spectating martial artists had never expected. After a full 2 breaths of time, the crowd of cultivators finally recovered from their stupefied shock. Gasps and cries of surprise rang out one after another. A 1-star venerable defeating a 3-star venerable in 1 strike. This was too shocking. Even Xianxia, who was a 2-star venerable, had the battle strength to challenge those of a higher level. However, when he fought with Meng Ji, he only fought to test the waters before defeating Meng Ji. This meant that Xianxia did not have the confidence to defeat Meng Ji in 1 strike. However, before the battle, Mu Xiaoyue had already stated that he wanted to defeat Bai Tsong in 1 strike. Otherwise, he would lose. It could be seen that Mu Xiaoyue was very confident in this battle. Moreover, Xianxia had fought with a gap of 1 level, while Mu Xiaoyue had fought with a gap of 2 levels. This was even more shocking. Comparing the two, Mu Xiaoyue's glory had obviously overshadowed Xianxia's. Many of the spectators even began to wonder if Yang Gang, who was first on the Earth Profound ranking, was a match for Mu Xiaoyue. Without a doubt, Mu Xiaoyue's victory over Bai Tsong had won the admiration of all the spectators. Perhaps there were still many who thought that Mu Xiaoyue might not be a match for Yang Gang. However, one thing was certain. Mu Xiaoyue's fame had already overshadowed all the younger generation cultivators. Even Yang Gang, who was first on the Earth Profound ranking, could not compare to him in this aspect. After all, Yang Gang's strength was only due to his high cultivation, not his battle strength. His reputation could not be compared to Mu Xiaoyue's fame of defeating opponents 2 levels above him. Only Yixing, who could also fight with opponents 2 levels above him, could compare to Mu Xiaoyue's fame. However, Yixing was only a half-step venerable master. Under the circumstances of the same level of battle strength, the difference of 1 level was obviously inferior. In the pavilion, Master Dried Bone's face was very ugly. Just now, he had refuted Master Jianjue, believing that Bai Tsong would definitely defeat Mu Xiaoyue. However, reality had given him a big slap in the face. Mu Xiaoyue's battle strength was far stronger than he had imagined. A genius who could defeat opponents 2 levels above him in the astral realm was not only a genius that appeared once in 1,000 years, he was simply a monster that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Regardless of whether it was Tianming or not, his ability to fight beyond his level was definitely top-notch in the entire astral continent. It was extremely rare. Sword Ju's mood was the complete opposite of Withered Bones. Master Dried Bone, don't blame your White Bone sect's disciples for being disappointing. It's just that my sect's disciple, Mu Xiaoyue, is far too talented. Right now, each of our 3 camps has 1 person in the top 4. This is a kind of balance. Master Huali coldly snorted and said, "Don't be happy too early. Once my sect's disciple Shui Yan defeats Yi Xing, our corrupt path's disciples will occupy half of the top 4. Guru Zixia lightly smiled and said, "Guru Huali, don't be happy too early. In my opinion, the winner of the next battle will most likely be Yi Xing." Master Chen Feng gloated, "If the winner of the next battle is Yi Xing, the White Bone sect, Fire Cloud cult, and Spirit Snake sect won't have a single disciple in the top 4. The Corrupt Paths camp will still have to rely on the Earth Fiends sect to keep up appearances." Aside from the 3 Corrupt Paths esteemed masters, the other esteemed masters all lightly laughed. Master Chen Feng was right. Although Xianxia was a Corrupt Paths disciple, he wasn't a disciple of the 9 high sections. If Shui Yan lost, the 3 high sects of the Corrupt Path wouldn't have a single disciple in the top 4. Although the Earth Fiend sect was a Corrupt Paths sect, it was only a 1-star sect. It couldn't be considered the Corrupt Path's representative in the true Xian region. The White Bone sect, Fire Cloud cult, and Spirit Snake sect were the true representatives of the Corrupt Path. The 3 high sects of the Corrupt Path didn't have a single disciple in the top 4. They had to rely on the Earth Fiend sect's disciple to occupy one of the top 4 spots. This wasn't a matter of gaining face, it was a loss of face. The only chance for the 3 high sects of the Corrupt Path to regain face was for Shui Yan to defeat Yi Xing in the 4th battle. That way, not only would they regain face, but they would also gain face. At that time, half of the top 4 would be Corrupt Path's disciples. It would be enough for the 3 Corrupt Path's esteemed masters to show off and lose face for the other 6 esteemed masters. In the martial arena, Yi Xing and Shui Yan had already gone up. Compared to Meng Zhi's battle against Xianxia, Baizong's battle against Mu Xiaoyue, this battle was much less attractive. That was because no matter who won and advanced to the top 4, they wouldn't be able to compare to Meng Zhi and Baizong, who had been eliminated in the first 2 battles. However, this battle was still a battle between a half-step enlightened master and a 2-star enlightened master. It was also a battle that was 2 realms higher. Furthermore, there was a huge gap between the half-step enlightened master and the astral dipper realm. Many cultivators were still paying attention to it. Under everyone's gazes, Yi Xing's expression was indifferent. In this aspect, he was somewhat similar to Mu Xiaoyue. They were both filled with confidence and calm. As for Shui Yan, he was a bit more solemn. In the past, outside of the astral dipper auction house, Shui Yan didn't attack Yi Xing because he was worried about the strength of the silver-winged demon eagle. But at that time, Shui Yan didn't place Yi Xing in his eyes. He said that if they met at the Young Hero Assembly, he wouldn't forgive Yi Xing. And now, Yi Xing and Shui Yan really did meet at the Young Hero Assembly. But Yi Xing's performance in the previous battles caused Shui Yan to lose all contempt towards Yi Xing. Although Mu Ziyue couldn't be considered a top-class enlightened master amongst the 2-star enlightened masters, he still wasn't weak. Shui Yan asked himself if he didn't use his astrology to defeat Mu Ziyue. Yi Xing took out the black dragon spear and pointed it towards the heavens. His aura instantly became sharp, like an unreachable peak that pierced through the heavens. Winds and clouds parting to both sides. Yi Xing's eyes locked onto Shui Yan. He lightly said, "Before we fight, you should use your astrology first. Otherwise, you won't have a chance." Although Shui Yan no longer looked down on Yi Xing, that didn't mean he feared him. He said, "Yi Xing, although your combat strength is amazing, don't be too arrogant. If you don't use your astrology, why should I?" The corners of Yi Xing's mouth curled up as he said, "Are you sure?" Shui Yan frowned. Yi Xing's tone left him in a bad mood. At the same time, he also felt a bit of pressure. His feelings towards Yi Xing were similar to Mu Xiaoyue's. This was what made him feel pressured. Because of this pressure, Shui Yan's confidence began to waver. In order to make sure, Shui Yan changed his mind. "All right, I want to see just how long you can last if I use my astrology." Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot out from between Shui Yan's eyebrows, turning into a blazing star that floated in the air. The blazing star shined with a blinding light. It was extremely hot, emitting wave after wave of heat. The blazing aura crashed into Yixing's body. Like a clay ox entering the sea, it disappeared without a trace. Yixing's expression was as calm as ever. Yixing's grand aura of fire had reached the minute subtlety boundary. Moreover, he had the stellar fire seed within his body. What he feared the least was fire attribute attacks. Xuehua's blazing aura had no effect on Yixing at all. Yixing's expression remained indifferent. He said, "Take my move, Dark Spirit Spear." In this battle, Yixing wanted to end it quickly. He wasn't afraid of exposing his strength and entering the top 4. The other 3 opponents were all extremely formidable existences amongst the 3 stars. No matter how strong he exposed his strength, it wouldn't threaten them. Thus, as soon as Yixing attacked, he used the Dark Spirit Spear's ultimate move, an all-out strike. In an instant, Yixing used the Grand Aura of Wind, Grand Aura of Fire, and Grand Aura of Darkness. The Dark Spirit Spear was the ultimate move of the Dark Spirit Spear arts. Yixing's Dark Spirit Spear arts had already reached the perfection boundary. His spear technique was like a god, and its might was terrifying. The 3 grand auras of heaven and earth were all at the minute subtlety boundary. When they were fused into the Dark Spirit Spear, it caused the might of the spear to reach a terrifying degree. As the spear thrust out, the wind howled and shadows appeared. Moreover, it was covered with a layer of fire aura. In an instant, the winds and clouds surged in the sky. The wind blades on the ground were like sabers. Darkness spread through the sky and flames surged forward, wanting to drown out everything in front of it. At this time, a dark spear shadow that carried a blazing light pierced through the void like lightning, instantly arriving in front of Shui Yan. Shui Yan faced Yixing's spear attack head-on. Affected by the 3 grand auras of heaven and earth, his field of vision was filled with wind, flames, and darkness. There was also a faint spear shadow, causing all the hairs on his body to stand on end. Blazing flame palm. Shui Yan shouted loudly. His strength erupted to the limit. Both palms struck out repeatedly, and dense flaming palm prints slammed forward. Supplement May 1st update. Trying hard to find the right state. Weekly begging for 1 monthly vote. Chapter 380. Shui Yan's cultivation was at the peak of the 2nd level of the astral realm. His medium-grade spirit martial art, Raging Flame Palm, had already been cultivated to small success. At this moment, Shui Yan was using the flame astral aspect. Endless flame star force fell down, causing the might of the Raging Flame Palm to multiply. Flame palms filled with strength and carried with them an incomparably hot aura. Before the astral palms arrived, the fierce wind was like a wave that rushed forwards. In an instant, layers upon layers of flame palms ruthlessly collided with Yixing's spear finger. In the eyes of the martial artists present, Yixing was only a half-step true sage. The difference between him and Shui Yan was too great. But Shui Yan's martial attainments, comprehension of the world's aura, and astral essence were far superior to Yixing's. Without using the astral aspect, it was impossible for Yixing to be Shui Yan's match. In this exchange, Shui Yan would definitely have the advantage and Yixing would suffer a loss. However, the reality was beyond the expectations of the martial artists present. How could they have known that Yixing's move contained the world's aura of 3 different worlds? It was inconceivably powerful. Normally, only a high-level astral realm martial artist could reach the minute subtlety of the world. To reach the minute subtlety of 3 different worlds wasn't easy at all. Only the 9 high masters in the pavilion were moved at this moment. They had all comprehended at least one of the minute subtlety of the world's aura, and could feel the minute subtlety of Yixing's move. Pung 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 pung, with a series of explosive sounds, the black dragon spear thrust forwards with unstoppable momentum. All of the flame palms were shattered. The spear point flashed with a cold light. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived in front of Shui Yan's throat. Shui Yan was shocked, revealing a look of horror. His body shot backwards like an arrow. However, Yixing wasn't any slower than Shui Yan. He took a step forwards, the black dragon spear thrusting towards Shui Yan's throat. Shui Yan simply had no time to dodge, he could only retreat. In a single breath of time, Shui Yan had already retreated to the edge of the martial arena. Bang! A light shield of array formation appeared, and Shui Yan slammed heavily into the light shield. His body immediately stopped. A cold light flashed. The black dragon spear's spear point also paused at this moment. The spear point pressed against Shui Yan's throat. That sharp aura made Shui Yan feel as if a needle was stuck in his throat, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. His gasps could be heard all around the fighting arena. Yi Xing was able to control the tip of the spear to pierce Shui Yan's throat, leaving Shui Yan no time to dodge to the side. This was enough to prove that this was not Yi Xing's maximum speed. If Yi Xing was moving at top speed, he definitely wouldn't be able to control it as he wished. If he stopped at any moment, the slightest mistake would result in the spear piercing through Shui Yan's throat. Unless he had a top-grade healing pill like the resurrection pill to save him, if his throat was pierced through, he would undoubtedly die. Furthermore, Shui Yan was a Fire Cloud sect disciple. If Yi Xing were to kill Shui Yan in front of everyone, he would definitely be killed by the Fire Cloud sect. It could be said that Yi Xing had kept the tip of his spear close to Shui Yan's throat while moving at high speed. Both of their lives were hanging by a thread. If there was even the slightest mistake, both of them would die. If Yi Xing wasn't 100% confident, he absolutely wouldn't have dared to do this. From this, it could be seen that Yi Xing had defeated Shui Yan in a state where he hadn't used his astrology, he hadn't revealed the limits of his strength. Grand potential of wind minute. Grand potential of fire minute. In the pavilion, several esteemed masters spoke out, their voices filled with shock. With a half-step true master cultivation, Lin Ming had actually comprehended 2 different grand potentials of the world. This left the 9 esteemed masters shocked. The grand potential of wind and the grand potential of fire were 2 of the most common grand potentials of the world that a martial artist comprehended. Of the 9 esteemed masters, some had already comprehended the grand potential of wind and some had already comprehended the grand potential of fire. Thus, they were able to see the boundary of Yi Xing's 2 grand potentials of wind and fire. However, the grand potential of darkness was an extremely rare grand potential of the world. None of the 9 esteemed masters had comprehended the grand potential of darkness, thus they weren't able to see through Yi Xing's attainments in it. Yi Xing's grand potential of wind and fire had already shocked the 9 esteemed masters. If they were to know that Yi Xing had already comprehended 3 grand potentials of the world, who knew what they would think? In the martial arena, Shui Yan broke out in a cold sweat. As he looked at Yi Xing, his eyes revealed a look of fear. The black dragon spear was a high-grade spirit artifact. As long as Yi Xing thrust forwards, Shui Yan's life would be taken. Although Shui Yan knew that Yi Xing wouldn't dare to kill him in front of everyone, with the black dragon spear pressed against his throat, Shui Yan still felt an instinctive sense of dread and fear. Yi Xing lightly said, "You don't want to admit defeat?" Shui Yan drew back, sticking close to the light barrier of the array formation. He quickly said, "I admit defeat. I admit defeat." Yi Xing put away the black dragon spear and turned to leave. There was no joy on his face. Defeating Shui Yan was within his expectations. The difficulties of advancing to the top 4 had only just begun. The opponents he would face next were either Yang Gang, Xianxia, or Mu Xiaoyue. Amongst the 3-star Taoists, all of them were extremely strong. Even though Yi Xing hadn't revealed his complete strength, Yi Xing was well aware that even if he went all out, without using his hidden cards like the Sagittarius constellation and the Black Hole constellation, it was nearly impossible for him to defeat Yang Gang, Xianxia, or Mu Xiaoyue. In the following battles, no matter who he faced, he was likely to lose. And Yi Xing's goal was the rebirth pill. Only by obtaining first place would he be able to obtain it. This meant that he would have to fight against Yang Gang, Xianxia, or Mu Xiaoyue and obtain consecutive victories in order to obtain first place. The chances of this were nearly 0. Yi Xing certainly wasn't happy about this. This young hero assembly is truly unexpected. Rising stars are popping up one after another. That's right. Before the competition began, who would have thought that the two 3-star Taoists, Meng Zhi and Bai Tsang, would be eliminated from the top 3? Of the top 4, besides Yang Gang, who is ranked first on the Earth Profound Decree, Xianxia, Mu Xiaoyue, and Yi Xing have all come from behind. Each of them is younger than the last. In the next round of the top 4, 2 more will be eliminated. I wonder who will be eliminated. I really don't understand it now. Although Yi Xing's combat power is heaven-defying, entering the top 4 is already the limit. The other 3 are all 3-star Taoists with extremely strong strength. Yi Xing will definitely be eliminated. As for who else will be eliminated, it's really hard to say. I feel that other than Yang Gang, the other 3 have the possibility of being eliminated. After all, Yang Gang's cultivation is at the peak of the 3rd-star realm. No one should be able to shake his first-place position. That's hard to say. Xianxia has the ability to challenge those of a higher cultivation level. His terrifying strength has not been revealed yet. Yang Gang might not be able to defeat him. Mu Xiaoyue defeated Bai Tsang with only 1 strike. His strength is also terrifying. Yang Gang might not be able to defeat Bai Tsang with 1 strike, right? In a battle between experts, it's not rare to win with 1 strike. It doesn't necessarily depend on the difference in strength between the two. As a swordsman, Mu Xiaoyue's attack power is very strong. It's not impossible for him to defeat an opponent who is slightly weaker than him in 1 strike with 1 strike. It seems that other than Yi Xing, who will be eliminated in the next round, no one can say for sure about the other 3. We will only know the results after the competition. After the top 4 were decided, the martial artists were shocked by Yi Xing's victory. They immediately began to discuss the next round of the competition. Among the top 4, Xianxia and Mu Xiaoyue were the most outstanding in terms of defeating their opponents. Both of them had advanced to the top 4 by defeating 3-star Taoists. Yang Gang had defeated Nanshinyue and advanced to the top 4. This was within everyone's expectations. However, no one doubted Yang Gang's strength. This was because he had been a 3-star Taoist for more than a year and had been ranked first on the Earth Profound Decree for 2 years. Although Yi Xing's defeat of Shui Yan had shocked the martial artists, objectively speaking, the one with the worst strength was Yi Xing. Therefore, for the next round of the competition, almost all the martial artists unanimously believed that Yi Xing would be eliminated. As for the other 3, it was difficult to determine. The competition for the top 2 was not carried out in a hurry. Instead, the 4 juniors who had been eliminated in this round had a competition for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place. The rewards for 5th and 8th place were different. Naturally, they would have to compete to determine the rewards. After several battles, the rankings were decided. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place were Meng Zhi, Bai Tsang, Shui Yan, and Nanshinyue. After the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th places were decided, the competition for the top 2 began. The referee announced the list of matches. First match, Yang Gang vs. Mu Xiaoyue. Second match, Yi Xing vs. Xianxia. Chapter 381. When the list was announced, the fighters in the spectator stands were in an uproar. They all thought that Xianxia had gotten lucky. However, no one said that such an arrangement was inappropriate or shady because the 2nd and 3rd place rewards were the same. In the eyes of the fighters, the 4th place would definitely belong to Yi Xing. Therefore, no matter who was eliminated, Yang Gang or Mu Xiaoyue would still be in the 3rd place. The loser had no fate with the 1st place. It was the same for the 2nd and 3rd place. It didn't affect the rewards. Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue looked at each other, stood up, and walked towards the arena. Xianxia stood up at the same time and sat down beside Yi Xing. He sneered, "Yi Xing, I told you not to let me meet you in the Young Hero Assembly. If you were smart enough, you would have admitted defeat to Shui Yan in the previous round. However, you didn't. Now that you have fallen into my hands, you won't be able to admit defeat even if you want to." Although Yi Xing defeated Shui Yan without using his astrology, this bit of strength was obviously not enough to enter Xianxia's eyes. A half-step enlightened master defeating a 2-star enlightened master was a rare occurrence in the true Xian domain. Furthermore, there were strong and weak 2-star enlightened masters. There was a huge difference between defeating an ordinary 2-star enlightened master and defeating a 2-star enlightened master at the peak. In the history of the true Xian domain, it was hard to say if a half-step enlightened master had defeated a 2-star enlightened master. There might be, but there might not be. However, one thing was for sure. In the history of the true Xian domain, there was no half-step enlightened master who defeated a 3-star enlightened master. Not to mention the true Xian domain, even the East Divine Continent or the Star Continent might not have such a person. As for Xianxia, he was only slightly weaker than the silver-winged demonic condor, who was at the peak of the 3-star enlightened masters. He was definitely at the top of the 3-star enlightened masters. Many 3-star enlightened masters were no match for Xianxia. Comparing the two, Xianxia naturally didn't put Yixing in his eyes. At this moment, Yixing was sitting with his eyes closed. He wanted to use this last bit of time to break through the barrier of the astral realm and become an enlightened master. As long as he became an enlightened master, whether it was Xianxia, Yang Gang, or Mu Xiaoyue, Yixing had a 90% chance of defeating them. If Yixing was given time, he would only need 2 or 3 days. If he wanted to be fast, he might be able to break through the astral realm and become an enlightened master within 2 days. However, the young hero assembly was about to end today. He did not even have a day, let alone 2. Although Yixing tried his best to break through the barrier of the astral realm, he was still unable to break through in a short period of time. At this moment, with Xianxia interrupting him from the side, Yixing stopped his attempt to break through to the astral realm. He glanced at Xianxia and suddenly, his heart was moved as he thought of a way to break through to the astral realm. With this thought in mind, Yixing felt that it was highly possible, and his mood immediately improved a lot. Yixing said indifferently, "Admit defeat? There is no such word in my life. Xianxia, don't be as cowardly as Shui Yan and admit defeat to me." "You think I'll admit defeat to you?" "Ha." Xianxia laughed disdainfully and said, "Just you wait. I'll beat you until your teeth fall out and your bones shatter." The corners of Yixing's mouth curled up, and he said, "Then I'll thank you first." Xianxia was stunned. "Thank you? Why would Yixing thank him?" "You're crazy." Xianxia snorted. At this moment, Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue had already started fighting in the arena. Xianxia's attention shifted to the battle in the arena. Whether it was Yang Gang or Mu Xiaoyue, they were both great enemies of Xianxia. Naturally, Xianxia would not miss the battle between them. Mu Xiaoyue's battle strategy against Yang Gang was very different from when he fought against Baitsong. He did not use his full strength at the beginning to decide the outcome of the battle with one strike. Instead, he used a probing attack. Yang Gang also placed great importance on Mu Xiaoyue's strength. A swordsman's explosive power was very strong. Yang Gang did not dare to let his guard down. He was careful and vigilant against his opponent. Both of them did not use their astrology. Mu Xiaoyue's sword was like a ray of light. Every time he swung his sword, there would be a dazzling golden sword aura. It shot out 1,000 meters and directly struck the light barrier at the edge of the arena. Yang Gang, on the other hand, wore a pair of high-grade spiritual weapon gloves and used the condensed aura palm to fight. The condensed aura palm was fierce and powerful. In terms of speed, Yang Gang was slightly slower than Mu Xiaoyue. However, every time he struck, he would shatter Mu Xiaoyue's sword aura. Yang Gang dodged a small portion of the sword aura with his movement skill. Their palms and swords clashed and exchanged more than 10 blows. The battle became more and more intense, and their speed became faster and faster. Soon, only the sword aura, palm prints, and 2 fast-moving figures were left in the arena. Most of the martial artists could no longer see the exact process of the 2 people's fight. Yixing's eyesight was better than a normal person's. He could see everything clearly. Moreover, after he activated his super brain, he could see every movement of the 2. He could even see the circulation of the astral energy in their bodies and the transmission of power. He could see that both of them had brought out their true strength. The only difference was that Yang Gang's attacks were overbearing, while Mu Xiaoyue's sword aura was light and agile. Yang Gang looked more powerful, but in reality, it was hard to tell who was stronger. In such an intense battle, after more than 30 moves, Mu Xiaoyue suddenly withdrew and stood several hundred meters away from Yang Gang. Yang Gang was wary of Mu Xiaoyue's swift sword attacks. When Mu Xiaoyue stopped attacking, he also took the opportunity to stop and adjust his internal breath. Although Yang Gang's astral energy is much stronger than Mu Xiaoyue's, his moves are overbearing and fierce. During the battle, his astral energy consumption is greater than Mu Xiaoyue's. Yang Gang's astral energy is dense, so he doesn't care about this consumption. However, it also causes his internal breath to become unstable. In comparison, Mu Xiaoyue's internal breath is calm and composed. Although the two of them are evenly matched, Mu Xiaoyue is slightly better. Yi Xing scanned the circulation of the astral energy in their bodies and the changes in their internal breath. He had a rough idea of their situation. However, in the eyes of the other martial artists, neither of them could do anything to the other. It was impossible to tell who was stronger. Mu Xiaoyue stood in the distance. He wasn't resting. Instead, his aura was rapidly rising as he prepared for an even more terrifying attack. Whoosh! A golden light flew out from between Mu Xiaoyue's eyebrows and turned into a giant golden star. It floated in the air, revealing an incomparably sharp aura. Metal elemental astral energy fell and turned into an illusory golden sword that enveloped Mu Xiaoyue. Mu Xiaoyue's sword aura was incomparably strong, as if it could split open the sky. Since Mu Xiaoyue had used his astrology, he would definitely launch an ultimate attack. Yang Gang didn't dare to face him in his normal state. A ray of starlight shot out from between his eyebrows. He had also used his astrology. This was a star with all 5 elements, but the astral energy it revealed was very strong. It was also a high-grade astrology. Surging astral energy fell. Yang Gang, who already had a dense astral energy, was even more overbearing, revealing a terrifying aura. Sky-splitting golden radiance soared. Mu Xiaoyue shouted coldly. He had already used his ultimate killing move and fiercely attacked Yang Gang. The golden sword aura split the arena into 2 halves, and the formation barrier appeared instantly, sealing the power of the sword aura from leaking out. Even so, many of the martial artists on the viewing platform who were facing this sword attack turned pale. They could feel the aura of death, and they all activated their martial arts to resist. Astral energy shattering the world. Facing Mu Xiaoyue's powerful attack, Yang Gang's aura was overbearing. He didn't retreat. Instead, he advanced. With a loud shout, surging astral energy gathered in his palm and slammed it out. Boom! A huge astral palm shot out and collided with the golden sword energy. There was a loud explosion, and the entire arena shook slightly. The astral sword energy and the astral palm both shattered. Yang Gang's body shook slightly, but he strode forward and slammed his palm toward Mu Xiaoyue again. Mu Xiaoyue's figure disappeared in an instant. The astral palm missed and slammed into the array formation shield behind him, causing it to shake and ripple. Golden radiance drizzle sword. Mu Xiaoyue's voice seemed to come from all over the void. A ray of sword light flashed. In an instant, the entire arena was filled with tiny golden sword energy. They were densely packed like rain and attacked Yang Gang. Astral suppression in all directions. Facing the sword rain, Yang Gang's legs stopped. His body stood upright like an iron tower, and he raised his hands. In an instant, thick astral energy gathered and turned into a shield that surrounded Yang Gang. Ding, ding, ding. The rain of swords rained down on the protective barrier, producing crisp sounds. The barrier either shattered or bounced back. It was a splendid scene. Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword. Mu Xiaoyue's voice sounded again, and there was a hint of ruthlessness in his voice. A ray of golden sword light shot out from afar and pierced Yang Gang's shield. Chapter 382 Foremost Martial Artists. Mu Xiaoyue's sword was just a flash of golden light as it pierced through Yang Gang's protective shield. However, For Yi Xing, who was scanning with his superbrain, he was able to see it more clearly. Mu Xiaoyue's sword was not just a simple stab. Instead, he and his sword were both spinning at high speed. Swords were sharp weapons, and their killing power was extremely strong. Once a sword pierced through, it would have a very strong penetrating power. Astral energy would have a hard time blocking it. Mu Xiaoyue's Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword was spinning at high speed, increasing its penetrating power by countless times. It was hard to imagine how strong it was. Yang Gang's protective shield was not just a simple protective shield. It was a defensive move from the astral condensing palm. The astral energy guarded all directions, and its defensive power was extremely strong. Coupled with the surging power of the astral energy, even a peak-perfected person of the same realm would not be able to break through this defense. For example, Mu Xiaoyue's Golden Radiance Drizzle Sword. Mu Xiaoyue had used his Golden Radiance Drizzle Sword to defeat 3 Celestial Sage by Tsung. However, it could not break through Yang Gang's astral energy suppression at all. All of the Drizzle Sword energy had been blocked. In the eyes of the martial artists, Mu Xiaoyue's Golden Radiance Drizzle Sword could not break through Yang Gang's defense. His Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword would probably return without any attack. Golden Radiance Sky Splitting Sword. Golden Radiance Drizzle Sword. Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword. Mu Xiaoyue had used 3 ultimate moves in a row. If he still could not defeat Yang Gang, then the outcome of this battle would be obvious. Yang Gang would undoubtedly be the victor. However, Yi Xing's view was the exact opposite. In his opinion, Yang Gang would most likely not be able to block Mu Xiaoyue's Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword. In the blink of an eye, the golden radiance of the sword had already pierced through Yang Gang's protective shield. There was no terrifying explosion, nor was there the sound of metal colliding. Instead, there was the sound of an object shattering. When the sword energy pierced through the protective shield, it immediately shattered, sending fragments of energy flying everywhere. A large dent immediately appeared on the shield. The tip of the sword continued forward, stabbing towards Yang Gang's body. It was only now that the martial artist could see that Mu Xiaoyue's body was rapidly spinning. The spirit weapon treasure sword in his hand was also rapidly spinning. The spirit weapon treasure sword was like a spinning diamond, ruthlessly piercing through the barrier and into the depths. The closer it was to Yang Gang's body, the stronger the astral energy and the greater the defensive power of the barrier. The speed at which the spirit weapon broke through the barrier was also affected by the powerful defensive power, causing its speed to slow down. However, Mu Xiaoyue did not stop there. His body was still spinning rapidly. Although the speed at which the spirit artifact sword pierced forward had slowed down, that was only in comparison to the speed at which it had broken through a large piece of astral light. In reality, it was still piercing towards Yang Gang at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing the tip of the sword constantly piercing through Yang Gang's protective shield, getting closer and closer to Yang Gang's body, all the cultivators felt their hearts leap to their throats. Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue had both brought out their full strength. The outcome of this battle would depend on this move. Would Yang Gang be able to block Mu Xiaoyue's all-out attack, or would Mu Xiaoyue be able to break through Yang Gang's all-out defense? Ha! Yang Gang shouted loudly. Surging astral energy surged out, attempting to repair the broken astral energy. At this moment, Yang Gang was unable to dodge or retreat. As long as he relaxed even a little, his protective shield would be instantly broken through by Mu Xiaoyue. He would not be able to dodge or retreat in time, and would be pierced by the sword. Therefore, the only way was to defend with all his strength, blocking the attack of the sword until Mu Xiaoyue's attack ended. However, under the attack of the Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword, Yang Gang's attempt to repair his protective shield was futile. Not to mention repairing the protective shield, the astral light that had not been broken through by the spirit artifact sword was rapidly shattering. In the end, the penetrating power of Mu Xiaoyue's sword was superior, completely breaking through Yang Gang's defense. The protective shield was completely pierced through by the sword, and the sword tip pierced through Yang Gang's chest. Yang Gang retreated backwards, but he was still not as fast as Mu Xiaoyue's sword. Pu blood splattered, and the spirit artifact sword left a deep wound on Yang Gang's chest. Mu Xiaoyue stopped where Yang Gang was standing and waved his spirit artifact sword to the side. Blood flowed out, but not a single drop was stained, revealing a moon-like brilliance. The outcome of this battle had been decided, and Mu Xiaoyue did not need to continue. Yang Gang stopped a few hundred meters away, his face pale and panting heavily. He quickly pressed a few acupuncture points on his chest to stop the bleeding. However, Mu Xiaoyue's sword qi remained in his body and could not be dissolved in a short period of time. Yang Gang looked at Mu Xiaoyue from afar and said, "There are new talents in the Jianghu, and the new generation surpasses the old. Mu Xiaoyue, you are indeed a genius of the true Xian domain. I did not expect you to surpass me so quickly. You have won this battle, and it seems that the first place on the Earth Xian list is yours." Mu Xiaoyue's face revealed a faint smile and said, "The first place on the Earth Xian list is just an empty title. My goal is the Youth Tiandu tournament in the East Divine Continent." After saying this, Mu Xiaoyue turned around and returned to the edge of the arena. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing, preparing for the next battle. Xianxia's gaze was fixed on Mu Xiaoyue, and it was only when Mu Xiaoyue sat down that he retracted his gaze. Deep in his eyes, there was a trace of fear. Although Xianxia had a strong personality and was insufferably arrogant, he was not an ignorant and conceited person. Although he had not fought with Mu Xiaoyue before, he understood that his strength was still a level lower than Mu Xiaoyue's. This made Xianxia a little disappointed. Because he wanted to shine in the Youth Hero Assembly, he had not revealed his true strength. When the Youth Hero Assembly began, he would take first place and amaze the world. However, this wish of his would most likely not come true. Even if he defeated Yi Xing, he would only be able to take second place. Sigh. Second place is second place. Everyone said that I could only take fourth place. If I take second place, it will be out of everyone's expectations, and it will not ruin my reputation. Xianxia sighed in his heart, and thought so. As for the battle with Yi Xing, Xianxia had already regarded himself as the victor without a doubt. Not only Xianxia, but the majority of the warriors also thought so. Mu Xiaoyue's defeat of Yang Gang had shocked everyone, and they had already regarded Mu Xiaoyue as the winner of the Youth Hero Assembly. In the loft, Venerable Jianjue's face was flushed red, and he was smiling. He was in a very good mood. The other venerables all had different emotions. However, when they looked at Venerable Jianjue, there was a trace of envy in their eyes. In their hearts, they were all thinking, how good would it be if there was such a monstrous genius in our sect? Venerable Jianjue, your Golden Sword sect is really lucky to have such a monstrous genius. Even Venerable Kanglin from 3,000 years ago could only defeat beginner and intermediate 3-star Venerable Kanglin when he was a 1-star Venerable. Mu Xiaoyue is even more monstrous than Venerable Kanglin. Venerable Wuji from the Boundless sect said loudly. Although Venerable Wuji was also envious, the Golden Sword sect and the Boundless sect were on the same side. Having a monstrous genius like Mu Xiaoyue was also beneficial to the Boundless sect, so he was naturally happy. The Venerable Kanglin that Venerable Wuji mentioned was a monstrous genius that was rarely seen in the true Xian domain in thousands of years. Ever since Venerable Kanglin, there hadn't been a genius who could fight 2 realms higher in the astral realm in the true Xian domain for nearly 3,000 years. Venerable Kanglin's final achievement was to become a half-step venerable. He was the #1 expert in the true Xian domain and had occupied the first place on the heavenly Xian ranking for nearly 200 years. He had once fought against a venerable without losing. He was a legend in the true Xian domain. Mu Xiaoyue's ability to fight above his level was even better than Venerable Kanglin's. Furthermore, he had the cultivation talent of a 9-star yellow fate. In the future, he would definitely become a 9-star venerable. As long as he had the opportunity, he would be able to reach Venerable Kanglin's level. Furthermore, if Mu Xiaoyue could maintain his battle strength and become a half-step venerable, his strength would definitely be above Venerable Kanglin's. It could be foreseen that as long as Mu Xiaoyue could grow, he would definitely become the #1 expert in the true Xian domain. In the future, The first place on the heavenly Xian ranking would probably be occupied by him for many years. Venerable Wu Yu from the Heavenly Dipper sect sighed at Yang Gang's failure. His desire to rope in Yixing became even stronger. Venerable Wu Yu looked at the battle arena. Yixing and Xianxia were already standing opposite each other. There are still 13 hours left to double the monthly votes. This is a rare opportunity. Please double the monthly votes. Chapter 383. Yixing grasped the black dragon spear and pointed it towards the heavens. His momentum was like a lonely peak that pierced through the heavens. Xianxia carried the great sword over his shoulder. His tall body combined with the great sword blade made him look like an iron tower, filled with a tyrannical aura. Xianxia revealed a cruel smile. Yixing, I will break your bones inch by inch and make you fall to the ground like a dead dog, turning you into a piece of trash that won't even be able to move. On the martial arena stage, many martial artists cried out in alarm. There seemed to be a great grudge between Xianxia and Yixing. This battle was not just a simple competition. Yixing is in trouble. Although his talent in jumping ranks to challenge opponents is on par with Mu Xiaoyue, he still hasn't grown up. He is only a half-step true master. He isn't Xianxia's match. Xianxia is a ruthless character. He will definitely do what he says. Although Yixing is an extreme talent, the sect behind him is far too weak. As for the Earth Fiend sect, besides the 9 great sects, it is one of the strongest sects in the true mystic region. Xianxia has no scruples. If he dares to say something, then he dares to do it. To be able to defeat a 2-star true master at a half-step true master, such a talent is hard to come by in the true mystic region in several thousand years. If he were to be crippled like this, that would be too much of a pity. In truth, there are many geniuses. But most of them die before they can fully grow. Especially those without a backer. The more outstanding they are, the greater the chances of them dying. I think that Yixing will also be one of those geniuses that die prematurely in their path of growth. But without a strong backer, this is too much of a loss. Many martial artists discussed amongst themselves. Most of them came from ordinary backgrounds, similar to Yixing. Thus, they sympathized with Yixing's experience. The grudges between Yixing and Xianxia were only minor matters to the 9 sect alliances. The 9 great sects naturally didn't care about them. It was only now that they realized that there was such a great grudge between Yixing and Xianxia that Xianxia wanted to cripple Yixing. Yixing's talent was astonishing, and his future achievements were unpredictable. He was an absolute genius that could stand shoulder to shoulder with Mu Xiaoyue. If he fully matured, it was very likely that he would surpass the 9 venerables in the future. What if Yixing was crippled by Xianxia? The 9 venerables were all considering the pros and cons of this matter. The Corrupt Path's Master Dried Bone, Master Huali, and Master Heavenly Snake all looked at each other, their eyes filled with ruthlessness. With just a glance, the 3 of them knew what the other party meant. They would not stop Xianxia from crippling Yixing. Xianxia was a disciple of the Corrupt Path, and he was also an extraordinary genius. Since there was a grudge between the two, the Corrupt Path would definitely stand on Xianxia's side, and not abandon him to help Yixing, who they didn't know would be a friend or foe in the future. Wuji Shangren, Zixia Shangren, and Jinjua Shangren, on the other hand, had nothing to do with this matter. The philosophy of their sects was to take care of their own territory and not help others, nor harm others. Moreover, if Yixing was crippled, no one would be able to threaten Mu Xiaoyue's position in the future. To them, this was a good thing. Only Master Wu Yu, Master Qin Feng, and Master Qinghong frowned slightly. They didn't want to see a peerless genius like Yixing get crippled by Xianxia. Master Wu Yu's voice came from the pavilion. Xianxia, this is the Young Hero Assembly. You can only decide the winner and loser. You can't intentionally harm others. Master Wu Yu was ranked in the top 10 of the Heavenly Profound ranking. He was very famous in the True Shen domain, and there were only a few people stronger than him. The martial artists were surprised. They didn't expect Master Wu Yu to help Yixing. However, as soon as Master Wu Yu finished speaking, Master Dried Bone immediately said, An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. No one is allowed to interfere with the grudges between martial artists. Xianxia, since you have a grudge with Yixing, let's settle it today. Don't worry about it. If there are any consequences, let me, Master Dried Bones, take care of it. Xianxia frowned when Master Wu Yu stopped him. Although the Earth Fiend sect was strong, it couldn't be compared to the Tiangang sect. He didn't dare to disobey Master Wu Yu's order to not cripple Yixing. However, he was very reluctant. He had no choice but to obey Master Wu Yu because of his strength. Now, Master Dried Bones had allowed him to do as he pleased. This solved Xianxia's worries in an instant. With Master Dried Bone backing him up, Xianxia naturally wouldn't listen to Master Wu Yu. Xianxia's face revealed an ominous glint. He stared at Yixing and said, "Brat, you are destined to be crippled today. No one can save you." Yixing looked at Xianxia indifferently. He then looked at the pavilion in the north of the battle arena and said loudly, "Esteemed masters, I don't want to be fair. Masters, I don't ask for protection in this battle, I only ask for fairness. Xianxia wanted to break my bones and cripple my cultivation. Master Ku Gu will take care of the consequences for him. But what if I break his bones and cripple his cultivation? What will happen then?" Xianxia laughed disdainfully and said, "You want to break my bones and cripple my martial arts? Pa, if you have the ability, I can tell you that there won't be any consequences. My Earth Fiend sect won't make things difficult for you. Hee hee. Unfortunately, you don't have the ability. Xianxia, if I really cripple you, will the Earth Fiend sect let it go? That's impossible, so stop farting over there." Yixing glanced at Xianxia coldly. He then looked at the pavilion and said loudly, "In the vast True Xian region, is there no one who can uphold justice and maintain the fairness of this battle?" In the pavilion, Venerable Wu Yu, Venerable Chen Feng, and Venerable Qinghong all revealed astonished expressions. They had wanted to stop Xianxia from escalating this battle into a battle of gratitude and grudges, but Yixing wanted fairness and spoke as if he could defeat Xianxia. They really couldn't understand. However, since Yixing had agreed to this battle to settle his grievances with Xianxia, Master Wu Yu naturally couldn't stop him. Since Yixing wanted a fair battle, Master Wu Yu would naturally give him fairness. Master Wu Yu said loudly, "All right, this battle will be settled by you two juniors. No matter the result, no one is allowed to interfere. No one is allowed to take revenge. Yixing, don't worry. I, Master Wu Yu, will take care of any consequences." In the battle arena, there were millions of martial artists. In front of so many people, Master Wu Yu had personally made a promise. Naturally, he wouldn't break his promise. If Yixing crippled Xianxia and the Earth Fiend sect wanted to take revenge, it would be a slap to Master Wu Yu's face. Yixing bowed slightly towards the pavilion and said loudly, "Junior Yixing thanks Master Wu Yu. I will remember today's matter in my heart." Master Wu Yu smiled when he heard this. Previously, he had wanted to rope in Yixing. Now, he was just speaking up for Yixing. It seemed like he already had a good relationship with Yixing. If Yixing didn't die, of the three camps in the True Xian region, Yixing would naturally side with the righteous Dao. Now, Master Wu Yu was worried about whether Yixing could escape from Xianxia's hands. If Yixing was crippled, then the good relationship between him and Yixing would be meaningless. His wind force has reached the microscopic level. His speed must be much faster than ordinary people. Perhaps he can use his speed to fight Xianxia to a draw. However, in terms of the thickness of his astral energy, Yixing is only a half-step perfected person. He is definitely not as strong as Xianxia. If the battle continues, Yixing will definitely be the first to be unable to take it and lose. It seems like I can't let the battle continue for too long. As long as they exchange more than 100 moves and there is still no winner, I will declare this battle a draw." Master Wu Yu thought to himself. Master Dried Bones stood on Xianxia's side and was already opposing Yixing naturally. He didn't want Yixing to escape this calamity and prevent him from becoming a strong enemy in the future. Seeing that Yixing was very grateful to Master Wu Yu, Master Dried Bones was unhappy. He said loudly, "No need to be long-winded. Let's begin. Xianxia, don't disappoint us. Yi Xing scolded Xianxia in front of millions of martial artists, causing Xianxia's anger to soar to the heavens. When Master Dried Bones said, "Begin," Xianxia roared angrily, "Brat, I will cut you into 8 pieces and feed them to the dogs." As soon as he finished speaking, the huge black sword in Xianxia's hand shone brightly. His body leaped forward, holding the huge black sword with both hands, and fiercely chopped down at Yi Xing. Within the sword energy, there were layers of mountain shadows. This was one of the unique moves of the multiple mountains sword art, multiple mountains condensing mountain. When this sword chopped down, it had the power to shatter heaven and earth. Its power was extremely overbearing. Xianxia didn't make a move, but once he made a move, he used his unique killing move. He wanted to severely injure Yi Xing with one strike. Brothers, thank you for your monthly votes. Today, I will still update 3 times. Starting from the next chapter, the word count of each chapter will remain at 3,000 words. I wrote 2,500 words per chapter for the convenience of traditional Chinese publishing. However, many of you said that I was reducing the word count to make up for the chapters. Alright, I will change. Even if I write 3,000 words per chapter, I will still pay back what I owe. The monthly votes will still be added. Chapter 384. All around the martial arena, all of the martial artists had their eyes wide open, watching this battle without blinking. In the eyes of these martial artists, there was originally no suspense to this battle. It was far less interesting than the battle between Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue. But now, this battle had been upgraded from a competition to a battle of grudges and grudges. The loser would have their martial arts crippled. This caused all of the martial artists to pay more attention to this battle than the battle between Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue. Xianxia's strength was without a doubt. Even if he didn't use astrology, his strength was equal to Sage 3 stars. In his battle with Meng Ji, Xianxia hadn't used astrology, yet he had taken the upper hand, forcing Meng Ji to use astrology in order to contend with him. Most of the martial artists believed that Yi Xing wouldn't be able to receive Xianxia's sword. Yi Xing had a solemn expression. He truly did place great importance on Xianxia's strength, but he didn't fear him. Facing Xianxia's multiple peaks condensing mountains, Yi Xing didn't use astrology. Instead, he revolved the astral stars, gathering the power of 3 different influences of the world into his body. The black dragon spear in his hands rose upwards. What? He doesn't use astrology and wants to receive Xianxia's sword? Xianxia's strength is infinite, and this sword is also an ultimate killing technique. Its strength is absolutely terrifying. How can Yi Xing withstand it? In a split second, a massive number of martial artists cried out in alarm. Even the esteemed ones in the pavilion were astonished. They did not understand why Yi Xing was only defending and taking Xianxia's attack head-on. Yi Xing's grand momentum of wind had reached the minute subtlety. He could have dodged Xianxia's sword with his extremely fast movement technique. Clang! Before the martial artist could think any further, the black sword had already smashed into the black dragon spear, emitting an explosive sound. Sparks splashed out and astral light splashed out in all directions. A shockwave spread out in all directions. At this moment, Yi Xing felt as if his opponent's sword was a mountain peak pressing down on him. The strength behind it was terrifying. Yi Xing's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. He immediately retreated dozens of meters. However, his body stood firm and did not fall to the ground. The black dragon's spear trembled and hummed. It was a testament to just how strong Xianxia's sword strike was. But Yi Xing didn't seem afraid at all. Instead, he revealed a bloodthirsty look. Yi Xing roared at Xianxia, "Did you not eat today? That's all you've got, lousy." All around the martial arena, the spectating martial artists were stunned. How could Yi Xing be unscathed after taking such a terrifying strike head-on? How strong must one's physical body be to be able to withstand this? Only a small number of martial artists were enlightened. They had participated in the auction held by the Big Dipper auction house and had seen Yi Xing win the superior grade spirit pill, the body-strengthening pill, with their own eyes. It was clear that the body-strengthening pill had been taken by Yixing. Moreover, he had refined and absorbed it, refining a powerful mortal body that was comparable to a one-star sage. In truth, Yixing's pure physical strength was far greater than a one-star sage's. He could almost compare to a two-star sage's strength. In addition, Yixing had the astral star protecting his body. No matter how terrifying Xianxia's attack was, Yixing was still able to withstand it. Xianxia's original intention was to heavily wound Yixing with his sword strike and then slowly torture him. But the result was beyond his expectations. This sword strike didn't even injure Yixing in the slightest. Not only that, but it even caused Yixing to look down on him. Yixing's words ruthlessly provoked Xianxia, causing him to fly into a rage. Xianxia shouted, "You're just relying on the body-strengthening pill to strengthen your mortal body. Let me see how long you can last under my sword. I'll chop you to death." Whoosh, as his voice fell, an astral sword broke through the heavens. Xianxia's sword ruthlessly chopped down at Yixing once more. The wind howled and the momentum was overwhelming. As soon as Xianxia attacked, he used his peak state. Whether it was the strength of his mortal body or the intensity of his astral stars, he used them to the greatest degree. Clang! Yixing used the black dragon spear to block. As the spear and sword struck each other, a deafening explosion rang out. Yixing was forced back dozens of meters once more. Kill! This time, Xianxia didn't pause. With a loud roar, the black sword brought with it a brilliant astral light as it ruthlessly cut down at Yixing once more. Xianxia knew that no matter how powerful Yixing's mortal body was, there was still a limit to the strength he could withstand. With his sword strike after sword strike, it was impossible for Yixing to last much longer. Clang, clang, clang. Yixing didn't counterattack every time. He only used the black dragon spear to defend with all his strength, forcefully withstanding Xianxia's attacks. Xianxia's strength was truly terrifying. Every time Yixing blocked a sword strike, he was forced back dozens of meters. The black dragon spear hummed and the web between his thumb and forefinger felt numb. However, Yixing still didn't use his astral projection. He persisted in his normal state as he fought against Xianxia. The martial artists present didn't know what Yixing's intentions were. If this continued, Yixing might be able to block for a while, but it was impossible for him to do so forever. There would always be a time when he exhausted his strength. Once he couldn't withstand Xianxia's attacks, he would be severely wounded. Xianxia attacked 10 times in a row. His astral stars were thick and his mortal body was formidable. His entire being was like a war machine that didn't know fatigue. He was sure that in such a head-on collision, the one who couldn't withstand it would be Yixing. From the state of Yixing's sword strike, one could see that the black dragon spear in his hand was shaking more and more violently. Every time he was forced back further and further. Puff! When Yixing forcefully received Xianxia's 12th sword strike, his body was finally unable to withstand the impact of this terrifying strength. His organs were wounded and he was forced back, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Many martial artists cried out in alarm. Yixing had already been injured by this sword strike. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to withstand the next sword strike and would be severely wounded. Hee. Yixing, you're finished. I will shatter all your organs and bones. Xianxia laughed. The astral light from the black greatsword in his hand began to rise. His attacks became even more vicious and violent as he attacked Yixing. Whoosh! This time, Yixing didn't forcefully receive Xianxia's attack. Instead, his body flashed like a phantom, disappearing from sight. Yixing used the Manifestation Realm's heavenly bat steps and fused it with the subtle realm's wind potential. His speed was as fast as ghosts and gods. Xianxia's sword strike naturally missed. Xianxia was stunned. Yixing had actually dodged his attack. If Yixing had such a movement technique, why didn't he dodge earlier? Why did he wait until he was injured before dodging? The martial artists watching the battle were equally shocked. Their expressions revealed their confusion. They didn't know what Yixing's intention was. In the blink of an eye, Yixing had already appeared 1,000 meters behind Xianxia. He arrived at the other side of the battle arena, took out a healing elixir, and swallowed it. His speed was so fast that it was shocking. All the beginner perfected persons were shocked. Many 3 stars perfected persons felt that they were inferior in terms of speed. With such a fast movement technique, he could definitely rely on his speed to fight with Xianxia. Before a large amount of astral energy was consumed, he would be able to protect himself. However, Yixing didn't use such a fast movement technique. Instead, he used his physical body to forcefully withstand Xianxia's attack. The martial artists couldn't understand this. Stupid, extremely stupid. Many martial artists commented. However, most of the martial artists weren't so arbitrary. They thought that Yixing must have his reasons for fighting with Xianxia head-on. However, they couldn't figure it out no matter how hard they tried. You finally know how to dodge. Xianxia looked at Yixing from afar and said with disdain, "But how long can you dodge? The battle arena is only so big. No matter how much you dodge, you will only be wasting time." As he spoke, Xianxia's body was like lightning. He rushed toward Yixing. His huge black sword emitted a dazzling light. Along with the shadows of mountains, he continued to attack Yixing fiercely. Whoosh! Yixing didn't want to fight with Xianxia head-on. Instead, he used his movement technique to dodge again. His heavenly bat movement technique had reached perfection. Together with the wind force of the hyperfocus realm, he could move within a small area. He could almost instantly change his position. Xianxia's attack missed again. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" Xianxia shouted angrily. Every time he shouted the word kill, he would attack with his sword. The sound of kill filled the air. Sword energy was also released one after another at an extremely fast speed. However, Yixing's speed was even faster. Yixing used his superbrain to scan. He could always predict the enemy's movements. At the critical moment, he easily dodged Xianxia's attack. Xianxia attacked more than 10 times, but Yixing dodged all of them. This made him feel as if his fists were hitting cotton. He felt very aggrieved. "Bastard, how long are you going to run for?" Xianxia's sword missed again. He was so angry that he shouted, "Do you dare to fight with me face to face?" Yixing's figure appeared in front of Xianxia. At this moment, he was calm and composed. His face was rosy. He didn't look injured at all. Yixing smiled faintly and said, "Your speed is too slow. How disappointing. Come on. This time, I won't dodge. Bring it on. Your attack power is useless except for loosening my muscles and bones. You're courting death." Xianxia shouted angrily. Although he had the upper hand, he was still enraged by Yixing. Xianxia attacked Yixing with his sword again. His strength was overbearing, and his sword aura was shocking. Yixing didn't use his astrology. Xianxia was proud, so he naturally didn't use his astrology. However, all of his strength had been unleashed to the limit. Every sword attack was a terrifying attack. Yixing didn't use his body movement to dodge this time. He took Xianxia's sword head-on. Clang! The spear and sword collided. The explosion shook the heavens and the earth. Yixing was sent flying again and stood still dozens of meters away. Without using his astrology, Yixing's strength was indeed inferior to Xianxia's. However, Yixing's body was strong. Although he was sent flying dozens of meters, he wasn't injured. Clang, clang, clang. One explosion after another represented that Yixing was continuously receiving Xianxia's attacks head-on. This was back to the beginning of the battle. The martial artists couldn't understand why Yixing didn't use his body movement to dodge Xianxia's attacks. Why was he being sent flying by Xianxia's attacks head-on? The first time, no one understood. The second time, a light bulb flashed in the minds of a few people. They guessed Yixing's purpose. Could it be? In the attic, Wu Yu's expression changed. He thought of a possibility. At the same time, he was shocked, but at the same time, he was pleasantly surprised. Wait a moment. There will be a third update tonight. Chapter 385. On the spectator stand, a 5 stars enlightened master was stunned. Suddenly, A light flashed in his eyes as he revealed a surprised expression. Immediately, the 5-stars enlightened master shouted, "Wuxia, this kid wants to use your strength to break through the barrier of the astral realm. Don't waste time with him. Use your astrology and defeat him as quickly as possible." When the martial artists heard this, they were stunned for a moment before realization dawned on them. No wonder Yixing could dodge Xianxia's attack, but he didn't. Instead, he insisted on fighting with Xianxia. It turned out that he wanted to use Xianxia's strength to break through the barrier of the astral realm and break through. Yixing was only a half-step enlightened master, but he already possessed such heaven-defying combat strength. If he broke through to the astral realm and became an enlightened master, his strength would definitely improve greatly. He might even be able to turn the situation around and defeat Xianxia. In this way, Yixing dodged Xianxia's attack after vomiting blood. This was because Yixing's body couldn't withstand Xianxia's attack, so he had no choice but to dodge temporarily. Yixing consumed a healing elixir and dodged Xianxia's attacks continuously, allowing his injuries to heal. Once his injuries were healed, he started to fight with Xianxia again. It was obvious that he wanted to use Xianxia's strength to break through to the astral realm. A breakthrough in cultivation required a quiet environment. It was taboo to be disturbed by outsiders. Otherwise, it would be easy to go berserk. If it was a natural breakthrough in the middle of a battle, the chances of going berserk were very low. However, Yixing obviously wasn't at the right time to break through to the astral realm, but he wanted to use Xianxia's attack to break through the barrier of the astral realm. This kind of hasty breakthrough was no different from dancing on a cliff. If he was slightly careless, he would fall off the cliff and not even his bones would be left. Because this kind of breakthrough method was dangerous, no martial artist thought about it at first. At this moment, when the 5-stars enlightened master said it out loud, the martial artists finally understood. All the martial artists looked at the 5-stars enlightened master. This 5-stars enlightened master was a well-known figure in Nine Heaven City. Most of the martial artists knew him. He was the vice-sect leader of the Earth Carnage sect, Xianxia. He was also Xianxia's father. Because of his genius son, Xianxia's status in the Earth Fiend sect had risen greatly. He had even overshadowed the Earth Fiend sect leader's limelight. Excluding the big shots in the 9 sect alliances, Xianxia was definitely one of the top 10 big shots in the Nine Heaven City. Xianxia could see through Yixing's intentions. Naturally, he hurriedly spoke up to promote Xianxia. During a breakthrough in battle, the stronger the attack, the easier it was to go berserk. At this time, not to mention using astrology, no matter what method Yixing used, he couldn't let Yixing succeed. When Xianxia heard Xiaodaoyan's reminder, he suddenly understood why Yixing did not dodge and instead chose to clash head-on with him. The strength Yixing displayed was so heaven-defying. If he broke through to the astral realm, how could he still be a match for him? Xianxia would definitely not allow Yixing to have the possibility of breaking through to the astral realm. Instantly, a beam of starlight shot out from between his eyebrows as he used his astrology. The surging power of astrology descended. Xianxia's strength soared and his might was extremely terrifying. Under the state of using astrology, even 3-star Venerable Mengji was defeated, let alone Yixing. Most of the martial artists' hearts tightened as they broke out in cold sweat for Yixing. Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot out from between Yixing's eyebrows and turned into a huge flaming star. Xianxia used his astrology to increase his strength. Yixing did not dare to fight with him in his normal state. Of course, he also used his astrology. In order to borrow the other party's strength to break through to the astral realm, the strength of both parties must be within a certain range. If the difference was too great, the body would not be able to withstand it. Then, before the breakthrough could happen, he would be killed by the other party. Xianxia used his astrology. If the difference in strength between him and Yixing was too great, his body would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, he could only use his astrology to reduce the difference in strength. This was the first time Yixing used his astrology. The surging waves of starlight shocked all the martial artists. Yixing's flaming star was definitely extraordinary among the high-grade astrology. Compared to the younger generation of geniuses, the waves of starlight from any high-grade astrology were more intense. Yi Xing's flaming star was indeed at the peak of the high-grade astrology. Of course, there were not many people who could compare with it. The flaming star floated in the sky. Yi Xing looked at Xianxia with a confident expression. In terms of astrology, Yi Xing was stronger than Xianxia. Therefore, even though both of them used their astrology, the difference in strength between them did not increase. Instead, it decreased. You dare to trick me? That Xianxia knew that Yi Xing was only using him as a tool to break through to the astral realm. He was incomparably furious. His eyes shot out a fierce light, revealing an intense killing intent. Heavy Mountain Crush. As soon as Xianxia's voice fell, he used one of the ultimate moves of the heavy mountain swordsmanship. The power of this move was exceptionally strong. With Xianxia's attainment, he was still unable to use this move. He could only use it with the help of his astrology. The giant black sword slashed out. The terrifying sword intent condensed into a 100-meter-tall black mountain and pressed down. This was like a real mountain. It was unknown how heavy it was. As it fell, the air around Yi Xing seemed to be under a terrifying pressure. It was squeezed and exploded, giving off a series of explosive sounds. Dark Spear Veil. Yi Xing felt a huge pressure. He used the defensive spear move of the Dark Spirit Spear art. The spear veil was like a shield, blocking the sword intent mountain that was pressing down. Boom! The collision of the spear and sword intent created a mushroom cloud of airflow. The terrifying airflow rushed out in all directions. The air in the entire arena was distorted. The power of Xianxia's sword was vertical from top to bottom. Yi Xing was unable to retreat and neutralize the impact. He could only take it head-on. The sword intent mountain was only blocked for a blink of an eye. Then, it continued to fall downwards. As for the Dark Spirit Spear, it collapsed layer by layer. Every time a layer collapsed, there would be another wave of impact on Yi Xing's body. Yi Xing's legs quickly bent. Moreover, blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. All the martial artists held their breaths. At this moment, the battle between Yi Xing and Xianxia was no different from the battle between Yang Gang and Mu Xiaoyue. If Yi Xing could not block Xianxia's heavy mountain crush, he would definitely be severely injured. He might even lose his life. However, Yi Xing's situation was different from Yang Gang's. Yang Gang's strength was already fixed, while Yi Xing was on the verge of breaking through to the astral realm. With Yi Xing's strength, if he could not break through to the astral realm, he would definitely not be able to block the heavy mountain crush. Therefore, the key at this moment was whether Yi Xing could break through to the astral realm before the sword intent mountain completely fell on his body. The blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth was just the beginning. In just a breath's time, Yi Xing's eyes and ears began to bleed. Xianxia's sword was indeed extremely powerful. Before it landed on Yi Xing's body, Yi Xing was already unable to withstand the power of the sword. He began to bleed from his 7 orifices. The martial artists' hearts were thumping, almost jumping to their throats. If Yi Xing did not break through, he would definitely be finished. As for the martial artists standing on Xianxia's side, they had already revealed victorious smiles. Yi Xing was already an arrow at the end of its flight. At most, in 3 breaths' time, the dark spear screen would completely collapse. When the sword intent mountain fell on Yi Xing's body, Yi Xing would definitely suffer a terrifying injury. At this moment, Yi Xing was on the verge of death. If it was any other martial artist, they would have already broken down and their consciousness would have been blurry under such circumstances. However, Yi Xing's consciousness was extremely clear. The powerful superbrain allowed him to be extremely calm. He controlled the power in his body and continuously attacked the barrier of the astral realm. It was because of the superbrain's flawless calculations that Yi Xing dared to borrow the opponent's power to attack the barrier of the astral realm. The stronger Xianxia's attack was, the more difficult it was for Yi Xing to withstand. However, it was not without benefits. It meant that the impact of the attack on the barrier of the astral realm would also be greater. It would also speed up Yi Xing's breakthrough. The dark spear screen was about to collapse completely. It looked like it could not hold on any longer. At this moment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Yi Xing's body. Bang! Under Xianxia's strongest strike, the barrier of the astral realm was finally broken through. In that instant, Yi Xing's body underwent a complete metamorphosis. His remaining celestial essence underwent a qualitative change, turning into astral energy that was over 100 times stronger. At the same time, the 50% astral energy that had already transformed into astral energy also underwent a qualitative change, becoming even more formidable. Yi Xing's cultivation finally broke through the astral realm and he became a one-star sage. There was no longer any celestial essence in his body, only astral energy. In that instant, a formidable strength flooded Yi Xing's body. The astral sword mountain came crashing down. The dark spear screen had already completely collapsed. All that was left was the bare black dragon spear. It could no longer block the astral sword mountain. As the astral sword mountain was about to fall on Yi Xing's head, the black dragon spear suddenly erupted with a dazzling astral light. Moreover, this astral light was over 10 times stronger than before. Yi Xing grasped the black dragon spear with both hands and thrust it into the skies. He used the move, Flash of Light. Bang! The dark astral spear shot into the skies, unstoppable. The astral sword mountain was already nearing the end of its attack, so how could it possibly resist? It was instantly pierced by the dark astral spear and exploded. Astral light shot out in all directions like fireworks. The move, Heavy Mountain Crush, was forcefully broken by Yi Xing. Wuxia suffered a terrifying backlash. His body shook and he was forced back several steps before coming to a stop. At this moment, in the stands around the martial arena, there were sounds of people sucking in a breath of cold air. Everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable shock. In this critical moment, Yi Xing had actually succeeded. By borrowing Wuxia's strength, he had successfully broken through the astral realm and become a one-star sage. All the martial artists present were shocked. In the pavilion, Guru Wu Yu's face lit up with pleasant surprise. Guru Chen Feng and Guru Qinghong were also overjoyed. As for Guru Dried Bone, Guru Huali, and Guru Sky Snake, they were all stunned. Chapter 386. He really made a breakthrough. Heavens, to make a breakthrough in such an intense battle, he actually didn't suffer from cultivation deviation. An 18-year-old true master? Around the martial arena, cries of surprise sounded out again and again. Even though Shi Dao Tian had explained Yi Xing's intentions, there were very few martial artists that believed that Yi Xing would succeed. Thus, Yi Xing's successful breakthrough was beyond the expectations of nearly all martial artists. Everyone was shocked. In the martial arena, Yi Xing put away the black dragon spear. He stood with his hands crossed behind his back, exuding a surging aura like a great mountain. As he looked at Wuxia, his eyes revealed a dignified aura. Being stared at by Yi Xing, Wuxia's heart inexplicably tightened. Yi Xing's ability to jump ranks and fight was in no way inferior to Mu Xiaoyue's. Now that he had broken into the true master realm, Wuxia dreaded him greatly. This was originally only an ordinary battle, but you forced me to the point where there was only you and no me. Wuxia, you dug your own grave and buried yourself in it. Yi Xing coldly looked at Wuxia, his voice chilling. Wuxia took a deep breath and said, "We can only decide victory and defeat." Haha. Yi Xing laughed out loud. When he was a half-step true master, Wuxia wanted to break his bones and cripple his martial arts. Now, Yi Xing's cultivation had broken through and Wuxia actually said that they could only decide victory and defeat. How could there be such a good thing in this world? Yi Xing didn't reply to Wuxia. After laughing, he revolved the astral stars and used the astral flame fist to punch out at Wuxia. He wanted to use his actions to show his attitude. Fire star force surged. It hung in the air and rapidly fused into Yi Xing's fist. Like a funnel, it caused the might of Yi Xing's astral flame fist to increase by several times. Yi Xing's astral flame fist had been cultivated to the large success boundary, only a tiny bit away. The only reason he hadn't broken through was because his boundary wasn't high enough. Now that Yi Xing had broken through to the astral star realm, his astral flame fist had reached the large success boundary and its might had risen to another level. The dark spirit spear art was at its strongest when combined with the power of dark stars. The astral flame fist was naturally at its strongest when combined with the power of fire star force. Thus, after Yi Xing broke through to the astral star realm, he put away the black dragon spear and used the astral flame fist instead. As long as the astral flame fist reached large success, then under the power of the astral star, it would be even stronger than the dark spirit spear arts at the manifestation boundary. Do you really think I'm afraid? Facing Yi Xing's flaming fist, Xianxia roared, heavy mountain suppression. Surging astral energy fell from the sky. Xianxia slashed out with his sword. The sword energy was vigorous, and the dazzling astral light condensed into a 100-meter-tall mountain. It attacked Yi Xing with unstoppable force. Bang! In this round, they were evenly matched. No one had gained the upper hand. Xianxia's eyes brightened and his mood improved. He smiled and said, Yi Xing, I thought you would be strong after breaking through to the astral star realm. You can't do anything to me. Since neither of us can do anything to each other, we can only compete in the thickness of our astral stars and see who exhausts their astral stars first. In terms of the thickness of our astral stars, as a 2-star sage, I far surpass you. If we fight for a long time, you will definitely be the one to lose. Before, I agreed to only fight to the end, but you insisted on acting. Now, I will use up your astral stars and wait for you to exhaust your strength. Then I will slowly torture you, crush your bones, cripple your martial arts, and make you wish you were dead. Yi Xing raised both his hands and felt the power in his body. His understanding of the flaming aura fist had already reached the greater mastery realm. It was only because his cultivation was not high enough that he did not break through. Now that his cultivation had broken through, his flaming aura fist naturally broke through as well. After the practice of that fist, Yi Xing finally merged his understanding with the flaming aura fist and broke through to the greater mastery realm. The power of the flaming aura fist at the greater mastery realm was many times stronger than the minor mastery realm. The corner of Yi Xing's mouth revealed a satisfied smile. Xianxia's expression froze. The smile on Yi Xing's face gave him a bad feeling. Yi Xing's smile became wider and wider as he said, Xianxia, try and take another punch from me. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xing had already shot forward and punched out. The flaming aura fist bloomed with a bright light and emitted a scorching aura. Just the friction with the air caused obvious shockwaves. The flaming aura fist at the greater mastery realm, the power of fire at the hyperfocus realm, and the flame astrology at the peak of the upper grade astrology. Yi Xing had perfectly merged the 3 powers of fire together, causing the power of this punch to be exceptionally strong. Xianxia's hair stood on end as he felt a dangerous aura. The power of Yi Xing's punch was actually much stronger than before. Could this be his true strength? Xianxia's heart was shocked. At this moment, Xianxia did not have much time to think. Yi Xing had increased his speed with the wind power of the hyperfocus realm, causing this punch to be extremely fast. Xianxia had no way of dodging and could only face it head-on. Heavy mountain crush. Xianxia borrowed the power of the astrology realm and once again executed this ultimate move. The sword mountain crush ruthlessly slashed down. In an instant, the flaming aura fist and the sword mountain crush collided, causing a loud explosion. The result was completely different from the previous exchange. The sword mountain crush was directly blasted into pieces by Yi Xing's punch. It turned into countless astral lights that scattered in all directions. Yi Xing's flaming aura fist did not lose its momentum and continued to smash onto the huge black sword in Xianxia's hand. Xianxia immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. As if his body had suffered a heavy blow, he flew back a few hundred meters and landed heavily on the ground. Hiss! In the spectator stands, gasps could be heard. The martial artists were all shocked. The result of this battle came so quickly. Xianxia fell to the ground and rolled continuously. The huge black sword had already fallen to the side and rolled for tens of meters before the terrifying impact dissipated. However, when Xianxia moved, he felt a burning pain in his body. Yixing's flaming aura fist had already invaded his body. The flaming aura fist was so hot that it felt like it was being burned. Xianxia felt excruciating pain. Before he could expel the flaming aura fist from his body, he would not be able to move. Yixing, on the other hand, walked towards Xianxia step by step. Although his steps seemed slow, each step was more than 100 meters. In just a few steps, he would be right in front of Xianxia. Xianxia would then face the consequences of having his bones and muscles crushed and his martial arts crippled. Xianxia had almost no strength to resist. He waved his hand and instantly took out a formation disc. The formation disc was engraved with a level 3 defense formation, Big Dipper formation. Instantly, a formation light shield covered the area around Xianxia and separated Yixing from the formation disc. At the same time, in the spectator stands, the Earth Carnage sect's vice-faction leader, 5 stars enlightened Master Xidaotian stood up. A terrifying aura exploded from Xidaotian as he shouted, "Yixing, Wuxia has lost. This battle ends here." Yixing had already expected that the Earth Carnage sect martial artists would stop him. Hence, he had asked the 9 superior sects to uphold justice from the start. With Wu Yu's promise, Yixing was naturally not afraid of the Earth Carnage sect. Yixing laughed and said, "I have not yet crushed his bones and crippled his martial arts. This battle is not over yet." As he spoke, Yixing punched out. Bang! The formation light shield, which could withstand the attack of an ordinary 3-star venerable, was broken by Yixing's punch. There was no longer any obstruction between Yixing and Xianxia. Seeing this, Xidaotian was enraged. He shouted, "Yixing, if you dare to harm a single hair on my son, I will exterminate your entire sect." Yixing's expression froze. Instantly, he revealed a murderous aura. The Falling Star sect had already been destroyed. Xidaotian's words had undoubtedly struck a sore spot in Yixing's heart. Yixing was not in a hurry to attack Xianxia. Instead, he looked into the pavilion and said, "Senior Wu Yu, it looks like in the eyes of the Earth Carnage sect, there is no such person as a senior." In the pavilion, Wu Yu's face turned green with a hint of anger. In front of countless martial artists, he had promised to give Yixing a fair battle. He had promised to settle the consequences for Yixing. However, Xidaotian still said such words. He really did not take Wu Yu seriously. Exalted Wu Yu's voice was cold as he said, "This old man has already said that I will deal with the consequences of Yixing's battle. Xidaotian, if you are unhappy, you can come at me. If the Earth Fiend sect dares to take revenge on Yixing, my Tiangang sect will return the favor tenfold." Xidaotian's expression froze. Just now, he had spoken in a hurry and had neglected Wu Yu. With Wu Yu presiding over this battle, how could the Earth Carnage sect interfere? Seeing that Yixing was about to cripple his son, Xidaotian's heart was burning with anxiety. His eyes were filled with hatred, but there was nothing he could do. Xidaotian's gaze also looked into the pavilion. Now, he could only ask the 3 lords of the evil path for help. Withered Bone Lord? Xidaotian asked Withered Bone Lord for help. However, just as Xidaotian spoke, Yixing had already attacked. He did not want Withered Bone Lord to stop him. He wanted to cripple Xianxia first. Xianxia's eyes immediately revealed a hint of fear. However, when Yixing appeared beside Xianxia, the look in Xianxia's eyes instantly turned vicious. He roared, "Die for me!" Whoosh! A beam of light shot out from Xianxia's hand, shooting towards Yixing. This was a black short sword that was more than a foot long. It contained an extremely terrifying power. It was a forbidden weapon that was equivalent to a high-grade spiritual weapon. Forbidden weapon, Absolute Soul Sword. This was Xianxia's true trump card. It was a forbidden weapon that could instantly kill a 3-star venerable. Even a 4-star venerable would be severely injured if struck by it. However, just as Xianxia took out the forbidden weapon, Absolute Soul Sword, Yi Xing's figures suddenly disappeared. Yi Xing had always been on guard against Xianxia. With his super brain scanning, Yi Xing understood his every move. When Xianxia took out the forbidden weapon, Yi Xing had already executed the heavenly bat footwork. Although the Absolute Soul Sword was strong, it did not even touch the corner of Yi Xing's clothes. Boom! The Absolute Soul Sword exploded, releasing a terrifying power. Yi Xing's figure had already appeared beside Xianxia like a ghost. His legs ruthlessly stomped down. A shrill cry rang out. All the bones and tendons in Xianxia's body were crushed by Yi Xing. His meridians were all broken, and his martial arts were crippled. Chapter 387. Cries of surprise rang out from the spectator stands. Although Xianxia was not as outstanding as Yi Xing and Mu Xiaoyue, he was still able to defeat opponents of a higher level in the astral star realm. He was a rare genius in the true Xian region. If Xianxia was allowed to grow, he would definitely become an expert of his generation. He might even lead the Earth Carnage sect to become a superior one-star sect and be on equal footing with the 9 great sects. However, everything was no longer possible. Xianxia had yet to mature. Today, at this moment, his martial arts had already been crippled by Yi Xing. Even his bones and tendons had been completely shattered. He could not even move. From today onwards, he would be a cripple who would even need the help of others to eat. Even if the Earth Carnage sect could obtain a supreme elixir that could heal Xianxia's broken bones and tendons, Xianxia's cultivation had already been crippled. He would have to start cultivating from scratch. He was about to miss the golden period of cultivation. Not to mention achieving what he should have achieved in the future, just recovering his current cultivation was not easy. Xiao. In the spectator stands, Shi Daoyan watched as Xianxia was crippled by Yi Xing and let out a mournful cry. Shi Daoyan's eyes were filled with hatred. Many Earth Carnage sect martial artists beside him stood up and looked at Yi Xing furiously. A terrifying aura came from the pavilion. Master Wu Yu's voice rang out. This battle should have been fine. Xianxia was the one who started it on purpose. He only has himself to blame for ending up like this. He can't blame anyone else. Yi Xing, let's end this battle here. Whoever dares to make things difficult for you in the future will be my enemy. Thank you, Master Wu Yu, for upholding justice. Yi Xing cupped his fists in the direction of the pavilion and thanked Master Wu Yu. Then he walked towards the edge of the fighting arena. All the martial artists' gazes were focused on Yi Xing. Their views of Yi Xing had changed completely. Previously, in the eyes of the martial artists, Yi Xing was a talented junior. Now, in the eyes of the martial artists, he was an expert. Among the 3-star venerables, his combat strength was at the top. Although he could not be considered to be invincible in the true Xian territory, he was definitely an expert. He was already an invincible existence in some countries with inferior 1-star sections. Yi Xing returned to the edge of the battle arena and sat down. At this moment, the array formation that enveloped the battle arena had already been removed. Xianxia was being carried away by the Earth Fiend sect's martial artists. The referee announced that they would rest for 15 minutes before the final battle of the Young Hero Assembly would begin. With Xianxia crippled, he naturally could not compete with Yang Gang for the 3rd place. The 3rd and 4th place battles were directly skipped. This 15 minutes was for Yi Xing to recover his astral energy and adjust his internal energy so that he could be in peak condition to face Mu Xiaoyue. Yi Xing's eyes were closed as he adjusted his breathing. But the martial artists watching the battle were already talking amongst themselves, as if their nest had exploded. Xianxia is also a rare genius of the true Xian region. To think that he would be crippled just like that, what a pity. Before the war started, who could have predicted such an outcome? Yi Xing actually dared to borrow Xianxia's strength to break through to the astral realm during the battle. He is really courageous. There was no other way. If he did not break through to the astral realm, Yi Xing would definitely lose. The result of losing would be his bones and tendons being broken and his martial arts crippled. It would be no different from going crazy. He might as well risk his life and fight for a future. If Xianxia did not stir up trouble and wanted to break Yixing's bones and cripple Yixing's martial arts, the outcome of this battle would not be like this. Wu Yu was right. Xianxia brought this upon himself. He cannot blame anyone else. Shu, don't say that. The Earth Carnage sect is not easy to deal with. They are afraid of exalted Wu Yu and do not dare to make a move on Yixing. They have nowhere to vent the anger in their hearts. Be careful not to invite trouble onto yourself. How could I not know that the Earth Fiend sect is not easy to deal with? But can he shut the mouths of the world? Furthermore, does the Earth Fiend sect not dare to attack Yixing? I don't think so. Why? Does the Earth Fiend sect dare to go against Wu Yu? Wu Yu is one of the top 10 figures on the Heavenly Profound ranking. Even among the exalts, he is one of the top few. He can easily crush the Earth Fiend sect. Does the Earth Fiend sect dare to go against him? Xianxia has been crippled. How can the Earth Fiend sect let this go? They don't dare to do it openly, but they do dare to do it secretly. Furthermore, if the Earth Fiend sect really wants to kill Yixing, they have many ways to do it. They don't have to do it themselves. That's true. Yixing is not a disciple of the Tiangang sect. Unless Yixing joins the Tiangang sect, Wu Yu can protect him for a while, but not forever. That's right. Just wait and see. Once the hero assembly is over, Yixing will definitely face a calamity. Whether he can survive this calamity will depend on his luck. 15 minutes passed quickly. The final battle of the young hero assembly had finally arrived. After the referee's announcement, Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue walked into the arena at the same time. The surrounding martial artists suddenly quieted down. All of them stared at Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue, their eyes brimming with energy and vigor. Both of them were in the astral realm and had the combat power to defeat opponents 2 levels higher than them. They were the rare geniuses in the true Xian domain. Previously, the martial artists felt that it was a pity that the 2 geniuses, Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue, couldn't compete at the same level. Now, Yixing had broken through to the astral realm and was a 1-star venerable like Mu Xiaoyue. Although they had broken through at different times and Mu Xiaoyue was a 1-star venerable, they were still in the same level. As a result, the final battle between the 2 of them had become interesting. They were both geniuses who could defeat opponents 2 levels higher than them in the astral realm. They were both in the first stage of the astral realm. Who was the weaker one? Every martial artist present wanted to know. Even though both of them were geniuses, there could only be one number 1. One of the 2 geniuses had to settle for second place. Geniuses rarely seen in thousands of years had to settle for second place in their generation. It was a tragedy that they were born at the wrong time. Mu Xiaoyue's white robe fluttered in the wind. His temperament was otherworldly, and his expression was still calm. However, there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Mu Xiaoyue sized up Yixing and said, "I didn't expect that my opponent in the final battle would be you." Mu Xiaoyue wasn't the only one who didn't expect this. Even after the top 4 had been decided, the rest of the martial artists didn't expect that Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue would compete for first place. In the eyes of the martial artists, Yixing would settle for 4th place, while Mu Xiaoyue, Yang Gang, and Xianxia had the chance to win first place. But now, Yang Gang and Xianxia had already been eliminated. Only Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue remained. Many martial artists couldn't help but wonder if Mu Xiaoyue would also be eliminated and Yixing would take first place. If this was the result, everyone's eyes would pop out. Before the start of the battle, who would have thought that the half-step enlightened Master Yixing's strength would be so strong? Moreover, he could break through the astral realm and become a 1-star enlightened master during the battle and compete with Mu Xiaoyue for first place? However, at this moment, the martial artists couldn't help but admit that Yixing already had a 50% chance of winning first place. The strength that Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue had displayed was extremely strong. No one could tell who was stronger and who would be the strongest. They could only wait and see the results of their battle. Yixing was calm and composed. His demeanor was very similar to Mu Xiaoyue's. The corners of Yixing's mouth curled up. He revealed a faint smile and said, I already had a premonition that you would be my strongest opponent for first place. Mu Xiaoyue moved aside slightly and said, "Oh? You actually know my true strength." Yi Xing nodded and said, "That's right. Someone once told me that when you were a half-step enlightened master, you defeated a 2-star enlightened master. Many people didn't believe it, but I did." Mu Xiaoyue smiled and said, "You also have such battle strength." "Of course I believe it. Mediocre people wouldn't dare to believe it if they didn't see it with their own eyes." After saying this, Mu Xiaoyue's smile froze. His aura suddenly became sharp. There seemed to be sword aura around him. Mu Xiaoyue's eyes were like swords. He stared at Yi Xing and said, "Yi Xing, you're not bad. You can stand shoulder to shoulder with me. If your destiny is also comparable to mine, you'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with me in the future. But with me, Mu Xiaoyue, in the true Shen domain, you can only be second." Yi Xing asked, "Why? Can I be first?" Mu Xiaoyue's aura was getting stronger and stronger. His face was filled with confidence as he said, "Because I, Mu Xiaoyue, am on the path of martial arts. I am invincible. I am invincible. Only in this way can I build an invincible heart and achieve supreme swordsmanship. Being in the same generation as me is your tragedy." Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, "The path of invincibility? Invincibility depends on strength, not on the mouth. In this young hero assembly, I'm determined to get first place. No one can stop me." Yi Xing wanted to get first place, not to cultivate his invincible heart, but to obtain the resurrection pill as a reward. He wanted to give it to his master, Zishan Ho, to heal his broken limbs. No one could stop his determination to get first place. If God blocked him, he would kill God. If Buddha blocked him, he would kill Buddha. Mu Xiaoyue raised his hand and a high-grade spirit weapon flew into his hand. His expression became incomparably firm and his aura became sharp. The powerful aura condensed into an illusory sword that pierced the sky. The wind and clouds changed color. The terrifying aura made all martial artists below the 4-star level feel a sense of fear. Whoosh! A golden light flew out from between Mu Xiaoyue's eyebrows and turned into a golden star that floated in the sky. The golden light was so bright that people couldn't look at it directly. It revealed an extremely sharp and terrifying aura. Metal star power fell from the sky and fused with Mu Xiaoyue's body, causing Mu Xiaoyue's sword aura to rise again and soar into the sky. When facing Yanggang, Mu Xiaoyue didn't rush to use his astrology. But when facing Yi Xing, he immediately used his astrology. From this, it could be seen that Mu Xiaoyue valued Yi Xing's strength very much. He was even more cautious than when facing Yanggang. Mu Xiaoyue held the sword in his hand and said, "You are right. The invincible heart depends on strength, not on the mouth. I will use strength to prove that being in the same generation as me is your sorrow." Today's update is complete. Adjusting status. Chapter 388. Mu Xiaoyue used astrology, and so did Yi Xing. Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot out from between Yi Xing's eyebrows, turning into a giant flaming star that floated in the air. Surging flaming star power fell and enveloped Yi Xing, exuding a scorching and terrifying aura. Yi Xing wore the blazing gloves and clenched his fists. He shouted, "Cut the crap and bring it on." Mu Xiaoyue's eyes turned cold, and he immediately attacked. Sky-splitting golden sword. With a wave of the upper-grade spirit weapon, a golden sword aura shot out, carrying a terrifying power that could split the heavens and earth. It slashed down at Yi Xing. The sharpness of the sword aura was such that the sky above the battle arena was split into 2 halves wherever the sword aura passed. Condensing flame aura. In the face of Mu Xiaoyue's terrifying swordsmanship, Yi Xing did not dodge. Instead, he took a step forward. Surging flaming star power merged with the astral energy, turning into a flaming fist aura that met the golden sword aura head-on. Boom! The flaming fist aura and the golden sword aura were shattered in an explosion. The moment the 2 people made their move, they brought out their true abilities. What they executed were both ultimate killing moves. The result seemed to be a tie. Golden Drizzle Sword. Mu Xiaoyue's sword momentum suddenly changed. His figure flashed like a sword light and disappeared without a trace. Instead, a golden sword aura suddenly shot out from all directions. It was like a dense drizzle of rain. This attack was too strong, and there was no way to avoid it. Even someone as strong as Yang Gang could only defend with all his strength, blocking Mu Xiaoyue's golden drizzle sword. Yi Xing was not Yang Gang. Facing the dense drizzle of sword aura, he did not defend. Instead, used offense as defense. 9 heavens burning fire. Yi Xing shouted as he executed one of the flaming astral fist's group attack moves. In an instant, Yi Xing threw countless punches in all directions. The surging fiery star power made him not worry about the fire astral gale at all. It was more than enough for him to perform the move, Fire Burning 9 Heavens. Dense, flaming energy fists blasted out in all directions. The drizzling energy swords were all broken by Yi Xing's energy fists. Facing the golden light drizzle sword, most martial artists would choose the same method as Yang Gang, to defend with all their might. This was because the drizzle energy swords were densely packed and innumerable. If one used offense as defense, if one did not destroy all of the drizzle energy swords, one would definitely be harmed. Yi Xing had his super brain to scan the area, so he was not worried about this. No matter how dense the sword forces were, Yi Xing could see them clearly with his superbrain scan. Hence, he used Fire Burns the 9 Heavens to destroy all the drizzling sword forces. Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword. As soon as Yi Xing destroyed the Golden Radiance Drizzle Sword, a cold shout rang out. Afterwards, there was a flash of light. Young Master Mu had turned into a streak of resplendent light with his sword, stabbing towards Yi Xing. All the martial artists watching the battle widened their eyes at this moment. They did not even dare to blink as they watched the battle in the arena. The battle between Mu Xiaoyue and Yang Gang was decided when Mu Xiaoyue used the Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword. Now, Mu Xiaoyue used the Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword again, but his opponent was Yi Xing. Could Yi Xing block this sword move? At this moment, it was very likely that the outcome of the battle between Mu Xiaoyue and Yi Xing would be decided. No one dared to blink, afraid that they would miss a moment. To the surprise of all the martial artists present, Yi Xing didn't try to resist Mu Xiaoyue's sword. Instead, with a schwa sound, a pair of black wings sprouted from his back. This was a mid-grade flying spirit artifact, Black Feather Wings. Yi Xing did not block Mu Xiaoyue's sword. Instead, he dodged. While he used the Black Feather Wings, he also used the subtle wind force and the Heavenly Bat Steps. The transformative stage Heavenly Bat Steps was already extremely fast. It contained the subtle wind force, and with the added speed of the Black Feather Wings, Yi Xing's speed reached a level that even a mid-stage true master would be surprised. Whoosh! Yi Xing's body instantly shot up into the sky. Mu Xiaoyue's sword pierced through the air, passing by in a flash. Many martial artists were so shocked that their mouths formed an O shape. How fast was Mu Xiaoyue's sword? It definitely surpassed the limits of a beginner stage true master. Even a 4-star true master would only be able to block this sword, not dodge it. But Yi Xing had actually managed to dodge Mu Xiaoyue's sword at such a critical moment. Just what sort of speed was this? As for how fast Yi Xing was, most of the martial artists did not know. They only saw Yi Xing's figure shoot up into the sky and then disappear from sight. Even the mid-stage true masters were not able to clearly see Yi Xing's figure. In the next moment, Mu Xiaoyue stopped because his sword had pierced through the air. As for Yi Xing, he was already standing several hundred meters behind Mu Xiaoyue. What a strong sword. Even Yang Gang could not block it. Unfortunately, no matter how strong this sword is, it cannot touch me. Yi Xing retracted the Black Feather Wings behind him. He turned around and looked at Mu Xiaoyue, slowly speaking. Mu Xiaoyue's complexion was somewhat ugly. He had already cultivated the Golden Ray Sword art to the perfection boundary. He had already comprehended the subtle boundary of the Golden Ray Sword art. Combined with his superior alloy attribute, he could use the strongest move of the Golden Ray Sword art, the Golden Ray Sword of Annihilation. In Mu Xiaoyue's opinion, no beginner stage true master should be able to block it. Mu Xiaoyue believed that he was an invincible existence among beginner stage true masters. But his strongest move had been dodged by Yi Xing. He could not believe that his attack had not harmed Yi Xing in the slightest. Mu Xiaoyue frowned. I didn't think that you would have a mid-grade flying spirit artifact on you. To be able to dodge my attack, that is a bit beyond my expectations. But this is because you relied on an external object. Otherwise, you would not have been able to dodge my sword. Mu Xiaoyue's eyebrows rose. His tone changed as he continued, but you think that you are the only one with a mid-grade flying spirit artifact. Shua, as he spoke, a pair of golden wings unfurled behind Mu Xiaoyue's back. It was also a mid-grade flying spirit artifact. As the golden wings unfurled, Mu Xiaoyue's expression turned cold again. His eyes were like swords as he stared at Yi Xing. You are fast, but if I use a mid-grade flying spirit artifact as well, let's see if you can still dodge it. Yi Xing smiled faintly. The reason he was able to dodge Mu Xiaoyue's Golden Radiance Extermination Blade was not just because of his black wings. More importantly, it was because of his wind force, which was in the realm of refinement, and his heavenly bat steps. The reason why he had used the black wings was because Mu Xiaoyue's attack had been too sudden. In order to avoid any accidents, Yi Xing had pushed his speed to the limit and used the black wings. Now Yi Xing was on guard. His super brain scanned his opponent, and Mu Xiaoyue's astral energy circulated. Yi Xing understood everything. Even if Yi Xing did not use the black wings, Mu Xiaoyue would not be able to touch Yi Xing. Yi Xing's faint smile was taken as contempt by Mu Xiaoyue. His expression turned angry as he said, "Lose." Whoosh, as he spoke, Mu Xiaoyue used the Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword again. With a flash of light he rushed towards Yi Xing. Now that Mu Xiaoyue was using a mid-grade flying spirit artifact, his speed was even faster than before. However, under the scan of Yi Xing's superbrain, Mu Xiaoyue's movement was detected by Yi Xing. Almost at the same time as Mu Xiaoyue's attack, Yi Xing had already used the sky bat steps to dodge to the side. Mu Xiaoyue's attack missed again. Seeing that Yi Xing had dodged his attack without using a mid-grade flying spirit artifact, Mu Xiaoyue felt even more embarrassed. He continued to use the Golden Radiance Annihilation Sword and wildly attacked Yi Xing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Mu Xiaoyue attacked Yi Xing 3 times in a row, but all 3 attacks missed. Hiss! So fast. What level of attainment has Yi Xing reached in his movement technique? How can he be so fast? Not only is his movement technique high, but he can also predict his opponent's movements. When Mu Xiaoyue attacked, he was already dodging. There was almost no difference in timing. The martial artists cried out in alarm. Some mid-level sages could see the real reason why Yi Xing was able to dodge Mu Xiaoyue's attacks every time. Mu Xiaoyue attacked several times in a row, but all of his attacks were in vain. He stopped and said, "Yi Xing, do you only know how to dodge? You don't even dare to fight me head-on. It's clear who's stronger and who's weaker. If you keep running away, then there's no need to compete. The winner cannot be someone who only knows how to run away." Compared to Mu Xiaoyue's impetuous and impatient attitude, Yi Xing was as calm and composed as ever. Yi Xing said, "You said that I can't dodge your sword moves, but I'm just proving that I can. Who says that I don't dare to fight you head-on? You've already attacked me several times, so why don't you try taking a fist from me?" As he spoke, Yi Xing's aura began to rapidly rise, as if he were preparing for his strongest attack. As his voice fell, Yi Xing's aura had already risen to the peak. His entire body began to emit translucent flames, as if he were a messenger of fire. Yi Xing used the astral flame fist and punched out at Mu Xiaoyue. As this fist punched out, a fire dragon and a fire tiger followed Yi Xing from both sides, letting out the roars of a tiger and a dragon. In an instant, the fire dragon and the fire tiger merged into Yi Xing's astral flame fist, but the roars of the tiger and the dragon became even more intense. The tiger and dragon roar was the strongest move of the astral flame fist. Yi Xing punched out, and the astral flame fist contained the power of a dragon and a tiger. Its terrifying power shook the heavens and the earth. Mu Xiaoyue immediately felt a huge amount of pressure. Golden Ray Extermination Sword. Mu Xiaoyue's expression was grim as he shouted and used the Golden Ray Sword's ultimate move to attack Yixing. Before, Yixing had dodged every move of the Golden Ray Extermination Sword. This time, Yixing took the initiative to attack, so naturally, he couldn't dodge. However, the difference was that when Mu Xiaoyue took the initiative to attack Yixing, the Golden Ray Extermination Sword was fully displayed, and its power was at its strongest. Now, Yixing took the initiative to attack, so the initiative was in Yixing's hands. Mu Xiaoyue hastily used the same Golden Ray Extermination Sword, but its power wasn't as strong as when Mu Xiaoyue took the initiative to attack Yixing. Although the difference wasn't big, for experts of similar strength, a slight decrease in strength would affect the final outcome of the battle. Boom! With a loud explosion, the Astral Sword and the Astral Fist collided. What a tragedy! The more I owe, the more I owe. But I'll make up for it definitely. Chapter 389. The sword aura and fist aura exploded at this moment, splashing in all directions. The exploding astral aura released a blinding light that was difficult to look at. In an instant, this dazzling light filled the entire martial arena along with the chaotic astral energy that was surging in all directions. A light barrier appeared, confining the turbulent astral aura within the martial arena. Amidst the turbulent astral aura and the blinding light, the martial artists could no longer see the situation in the martial arena. They could only see the blinding light and turbulent astral aura. The light was obviously blinding, and because of the chaotic astral aura, they could not see Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue in the martial arena. However, the martial artists still endured the blinding light and stared at the martial arena with wide eyes. They all wanted to know who was stronger and who was weaker in this round of peak confrontation. They were afraid that they would miss a single moment. The blinding light dissipated in the blink of an eye. However, the turbulent astral aura took a few breaths before it gradually dissipated. When the astral aura that blocked their vision dissipated, the martial arena suddenly erupted with a uniform cry of surprise. They saw Yixing standing in the same place, his posture like a mountain. As for Mu Xiaoyue, he had already appeared 100 meters behind him. He was half kneeling on the ground, his body trembling. A trail of blood hung from the corner of his mouth, and the sword in his hand was stabbed into the ground to support his body. Mu Xiaoyue was actually injured. Before the battle, although Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue's chances of victory were 50-50, in the hearts of the majority of the martial artists, they still thought that Mu Xiaoyue would win. This was because Mu Xiaoyue had broken through to the astral realm first. Although they were both one-star sages, his cultivation was more profound than Yixing's. Moreover, Mu Xiaoyue came from the Golden Sword sect, one of the 9 great sects, and had been taught by a master. On the other hand, Yixing came from an inferior one-star sect. The person who taught him might not be as strong as Yixing himself. This heroes' assembly was undoubtedly a good basis for the Earth Profound list rankings. The champion of the heroes' assembly would also be the champion of the Earth Profound list. For the martial artists, it was natural for Mu Xiaoyue, who came from the Golden Sword sect, to be the champion of the Earth Profound list. However, if Yixing, a martial artist from a remote area, were to become the champion of the Earth Profound list, many martial artists would not accept it. However, the result was beyond the expectations of the majority of the martial artists. The dark horse, Yi, was not satisfied with second place. He had defeated Mu Xiaoyue to become the champion. In the pavilion, the Golden Sword sect's venerable master Jianjue looked at the arena in disbelief and muttered to himself, "This is impossible." Mu Xiaoyue was a rare genius in the true Shen domain that was rarely seen in thousands of years. In the history of the Golden Sword sect, there had never been such a monstrous genius. The ancient martial art practitioners of the Golden Sword sect all thought that Mu Xiaoyue would lead the true Shen domain to a new era. Who would have thought that Mu Xiaoyue would be defeated by Yixing, who was even younger than him? Therefore, even though the truth was right in front of his eyes, Venerable Master Jianjue still could not believe it. Venerable Wuji and Venerable Xixia both sighed. It was not that Mu Xiaoyue was not outstanding, but it was a pity that Yi Xing was too heaven-defying. Mu Xiaoyue said that it was sad that Yi Xing was born in the same generation as him. This was completely the opposite. It should be that it was sad that Mu Xiaoyue and Yi Xing were born in the same generation. Venerable Wu Ji glanced at Venerable Wu Yu and saw that Venerable Wu Yu's face was full of joy. He was obviously very happy. When Yi Xing had shown his talent, the venerables of the three camps had all wanted to rope him in. However, as the competition continued, the Evil Path camp stood against Yi Xing because of Xianxia. The camp led by the Boundless sect ignored Yi Xing because of Mu Xiaoyue. However, the Good Path camp led by the Tiangang sect had lent a helping hand to Yi Xing. Yi Xing would undoubtedly stand on the side of the Good Path camp. Therefore, Venerable Wu Yu, Venerable Qin Feng, and Venerable Qin Hong were all very happy. Yi Xing was actually more monstrous than Mu Xiaoyue. This was obviously a pleasant surprise. Yi Xing wins. He is the first in the Young Hero Assembly, and Mu Xiaoyue is second. The venerable judge announced the results. Yi Xing smiled faintly. His heart was filled with joy. Taking first place in the Young Hero Assembly was his goal, and he had finally accomplished it. This meant that his master Zishanho's severed limb could be healed. Mu Xiaoyue supported himself with his sword and slowly stood up. After a long time, he finally expelled the flaming fist energy from his body. Mu Xiaoyue's eyes were still as sharp as swords. He stared at Yi Xing and said, "Today was just an accident. In 3 months, I will challenge you again. At that time, I will let you understand the difference between you and me." Yi Xing was in a very good mood. He boasted, "On the path of martial arts, I have always surpassed others. No one has ever surpassed me. Always surpassing others, no one has ever surpassed me." When the martial artists heard this, they were all startled. These words were really boastful. However, the martial artists took a deep look at Yi Xing. They found that Yi Xing was qualified to say these words. An 18-year-old one-star venerable, of course, had always surpassed others on the path of martial arts. If anyone could surpass him, then the first place in the Young Hero Assembly would not be Yi Xing. Even a peerless genius like Mu Xiaoyue had been surpassed by Yi Xing. Who among the younger generation of the true Shen domain could compare with him? Mu Xiaoyue was so angry that he almost vomited blood when he heard Yi Xing's words. He was very unwilling in his heart. It was only right that he should be the one to say something like that. Mu Xiaoyue imagined that if he won first place in the Young Hero Assembly and said, "I have always surpassed others. No one has ever surpassed me." How cool would that be? However, when Yi Xing said these words, Mu Xiaoyue only felt depressed. He coldly snorted and said, "Humph! No one has ever surpassed me? Just wait and see. I, Mu Xiaoyue, will be the first to surpass you." Yi Xing smiled indifferently and said, "I'll be waiting." After saying this, Yi Xing walked to the edge of the gladiator arena. The referee stopped Yi Xing from leaving and said, "Next, we will give out rewards to the top 10 geniuses of the Young Hero Assembly. The top 10 geniuses of the younger generation, please come up." Yang Gang, Meng Ji, Bai Tsang, Shui Yan, Nenshinyue, Du Feiyun Shidu, and the others walked over from the edge of the gladiator arena. The 7 people's gazes swept over Yi Xing and Mu Xiaoyue. Obviously, their gazes lingered on Yi Xing for a longer time. It was clear that the shock they felt towards Yi Xing was much greater than towards Mu Xiaoyue. Before the Young Hero Assembly, who would have thought that Yi Xing would win first place? Even when Yi Xing had revealed his strength and entered the top 4, no one had thought so. However, the final result of Yi Xing had deeply shocked everyone. Soon, the rewards of the 9 sect alliances were distributed to the younger generation. Yi Xing had obtained the resurrection elixir as he had wished. Only 9 of the top 10 geniuses had come. The 4th place, Xianxia, had not come. Although he had been crippled, his ranking had not been erased. He had been directly sent to the martial artists of the Earth Fiend sect. Chapter 390. Yi Xing's reward wasn't just the elixir of resurrection. There were also 2 Saint Spirit elixirs and a 1-star star energy elixir. They were all high-grade elixirs and were extremely valuable. Other than the elixirs, there were also 10,000 mid-grade star crystals. 10,000 mid-grade star crystals was definitely not a small sum. Many low-grade 1-star sects couldn't take out 10,000 mid-grade star crystals even if they used their entire sect's resources. Of course, to Yi Xing, 10,000 mid-grade star crystals weren't much. He had tens of thousands of mid-grade star crystals on him. He was considered rich among the mid-level enlightened masters. The star energy elixir was an elixir that could quickly recover one's astral energy, while the Saint Spirit elixir was an elixir that could increase one's cultivation. Yi Xing's cultivation was at the first level of the astral realm. 2 Saint Spirit elixirs were enough for Yi Xing to consolidate his cultivation and save him a month or 2 of hard work. With the reward in hand, Yi Xing was eager to return home. He only wanted to return to the Qingyun region and the Fallen Star Kingdom. He wanted to heal Zishan Ho's legs and rebuild the Fallen Star sect. He wanted to destroy the Fallen Star sect's enemies one by one. Yi Xing. Just as Yi Xing was about to leave, someone suddenly called out to him. Yi Xing turned around and saw Yang Gang, who was dressed in black, walking towards him. In the battle with Xianxia, it was Master Wu Yu of the Heavenly Dipper sect who upheld justice. Yi Xing had a good impression of the Heavenly Dipper sect's martial artists. Yi Xing nodded towards Yang Gang. "Brother Yang, what's the matter?" Yang Gang walked in front of Yi Xing and said, "In today's world, martial arts is flourishing and geniuses are emerging in large numbers. Mu Xiaoyue alone is already shocking enough. I didn't expect you to be even more shocking than him. Yi Xing, congratulations on obtaining first place. You are also first on the Earth Profound ranking." Yi Xing smiled faintly. Yang Gang was originally first on the Earth Profound ranking. Now that he was pushed down to 3rd place by Yi Xing and Mu Xiaoyue, he didn't seem angry at all. Yi Xing knew that Yang Gang wouldn't stop him because of this little compliment, so he quietly looked at Yang Gang. As expected, Yang Gang quickly said, "My martial uncle wants to meet you. He invites you to the Heavenly Dipper Mansion." Although the 9 sects headquarters was in the 9 Heaven City, the 9 sects headquarters, the 9 sects headquarters. The 9 sects representatives in the 9 sects were the sects representatives in the 9 sects, the 9 sects, TSS, the SSS. Yi Xing looked at Yang Gang in confusion and asked, "Your martial uncle?" Yang Gang nodded and said, "It's Lord Wu Yu. Was. Is." Yang Gang waved his hand. "Follow me." The 9 sects representatives were in the pavilion. Of course, Yang Gang wouldn't meet Yi Xing in the pavilion. Instead, he directly led Yi Xing to the Heavenly Dipper Mansion, which was the Heavenly Dipper sect's private territory. Under Yang Gang's lead, Yi Xing left the battle arena and headed to the Heavenly Dipper Mansion. With Yang Gang around, Yi Xing could naturally fly in the inner city. He directly rode the silver-winged Devil Eagle and traveled with Yang Gang. Before Yi Xing reached the Heavenly Dipper Mansion, he was stopped by a 6 stars enlightened master. Enlightened Master Gu Tai. Yang Gang nodded to the 6 stars enlightened master to show his respect. At the same time, he transmitted a message to Yi Xing. "It's the White Bone Sect's elder." White Bone Sect? Yi Xing's eyes twitched. When he fought with Xianxia, the Dried Bones enlightened master who supported Xianxia was from the White Bone Sect. Yi Xing naturally didn't have a good impression of the White Bone Sect's people. However, Yi Xing couldn't afford to offend the White Bone Sect's elder. Since the Bone Sect's elder was right in front of him, Yi Xing still nodded and greeted, "Enlightened Master Gu Tai." Enlightened Master Gu Tai waved his hand at Yang Gang and said, "You go to the side first. I want to talk to Yi Xing." Yang Gang didn't leave and said, "Enlightened Master Gu Tai, Yi Xing is going to the Heavenly Dipper Mansion on the orders of my martial uncle Wu Yu." Enlightened Master Gu Tai said, "I know, I just want to talk to him." As soon as he finished speaking, Taoist Gu Tai disregarded Yang Gang and directly walked over to Yi Xing and said, "Yi Xing, I'm an inner court elder of the Bone Sect, and I have an extraordinarily good thing for you." Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, Isn't the White Bone sect the same as the Earth Fiend sect, an evil sect? What good news do you have for me? Enlightened Master Gutai's expression was arrogant as he said, Yi Xing, you come from the Qingyun region's low-grade 1-star sect, the Falling Star sect. The sect's best cultivation inheritance and martial art inheritance are only high-grade spirit grade. Even if your talent is heaven-defying, a high-grade spirit grade cultivation inheritance is your limit. In this aspect, you are far from being comparable to the Golden Sword sect's Mu Xiaoyue. The Golden Sword sect has a top-grade spirit grade cultivation inheritance. Mu Xiaoyue can cultivate until he is a 9 stars enlightened master, or even a half-step venerable. If you were only a disciple of the you would never be able to reach Mu Xiaoyue's height in the future. However, you are in luck now. As long as you join the White Bone sect, the White Bone sect will provide you with a top-grade spirit grade cultivation inheritance and martial art inheritance. Moreover, there will be a master who will accept you as a personal disciple and guide your cultivation. The White Bone sect will see you as the sect's future and will do everything to nurture you. Whether it is now or in the future, you will be able to stand above Mu Xiaoyue and never be surpassed by him. Tell me, isn't this great news for you? Yang Gang's face turned green. The White Bone sect was so shameless as to block Yi Xing's path to the Heavenly Dipper sect. Yi Xing was so outstanding that Yang Gang naturally understood why Master Wu Yu wanted to talk to Yi Xing. Of course, he wanted Yi Xing to join the Heavenly Dipper sect. With Yi Xing's potential under the Heavenly Dipper sect's nurturing, he would definitely become one of the strongest in the true Xian region in the future. This would ensure that the Heavenly Dipper sect would remain the #1 sect in the true Xian region for close to 200 years. The White Bone sect naturally knew why Master Wu Yu wanted to talk to Yi Xing. That was why they had sent Sage Gutai to block him on the way. They wanted to poach Yi Xing from the Heavenly Dipper sect first. Although the White Bone sect's Master Withered Bone had supported Yi Xing when he had fought with Xianxia, that was then and this was now. Now that Xianxia had been crippled, Yi Xing's performance had exceeded the White Bone sect's expectations. As one of the strongest sects in the true Xian region, the White Bone sect was naturally able to let go of things. Before the Heavenly Dipper sect, they had thrown out the best conditions to Yi Xing to let Yi Xing join the White Bone sect. Yang Gang found Sage Gutai's actions to be extremely shameless. Just as he was about to say something, Yi Xing had already spoken. Yi Xing rejected Sage Gutai. This junior appreciates senior's good intentions. However, this junior is a disciple of the Falling Star sect. I won't join another sect. Please forgive me, senior. Taoist Master Gutai chuckled and said, Yi Xing, people walk to higher places while water flows to lower places. As a martial artist, constantly advancing on the path of martial arts is the most important thing. You have exceptional talent, but the Falling Star sect is too small to accommodate you. Without a high-grade spiritual level cultivation inheritance, you can only become a 6-star venerable in the future. Furthermore, according to the information I received, the Falling Star sect has already been destroyed and no longer exists. If you join the White Bone sect, you won't be joining another sect. As long as you join the White Bone sect, you can state whatever conditions you want. Even if you want to avenge Theet won't be a problem. The White Bone sect can easily destroy all of the Falling Star sect's enemies. Yi Xing raised his right hand. There was a middle-grade storage ring on his middle finger. It was the ring of the Falling Star sect's sect master. Yi Xing said, This is the ring of the Falling Star sect's sect master. I am the current sect master of the Falling Star sect. As long as the Falling Star sect still exists, senior, I will definitely not join the White Bone sect. Please don't waste your energy. I will avenge the Falling Star sect myself. I don't need to borrow the hands of others. You haven't even grown your hair yet? Sect master? Taoist Gutai's expression turned cold. However, he immediately reacted. With Yi Xing's current strength, he was more than qualified to be the sect master of a low-grade 1-star sect. Yang Gang didn't believe that Yi Xing wouldn't be tempted by a top-grade spirit grade inheritance. In his opinion, the reason why Yi Xing rejected Taoist Gutai was because of Wu Yu's help. Therefore, Yi Xing chose the Tiangang sect in his heart. Yang Gang said, Taoist Gutai, Yixing won't go to the White Bone sect. Save your energy. My martial uncle is still waiting for me and Yixing. If we don't arrive after a long time, my martial uncle will definitely come out to look for us. If he sees Taoist Gutai blocking us, then it won't be good. Taoist Gutai looked at Yixing's eyes again. Seeing the determination in Yixing's eyes, he could only sigh and leave. Yang Gang looked at Taoist Gutai's departing figure and said with a smile, when you fought Wuxia, the White Bone sect clearly supported him. Now they're asking you to join them. How shameless. Yixing smiled faintly and said, let's go. Yixing didn't lack top-grade spirit-grade inheritances. In the Falling Star secret realm, he had obtained the Falling Star incantation. It was enough for him to reach the peak of the astral realm. A 2-star sect might be attractive to Yixing. After rebuilding, the Yixing might join a 2-star sect in order to go further on the martial path. However, it was impossible for him to join a high-grade 1-star sect. Taoist Gutai said that a low-grade 1-star sect was too small to accommodate Yixing. In Yixing's opinion, a low-grade 1-star sect was also too small. In fact, even a 2-star sect was still too small for Yixing. Yixing was determined to reach the peak of the martial path. At the very least, he wanted to become a monarch. Only a 3-star sect was attractive to him. If a 3-star sect was recruiting disciples, he would definitely go and register after rebuilding the Falling Star sect. Whether it was the White Bone sect, the Big Dipper sect, or the 9 superior sects of the True Mystic region, Yixing didn't consider them. Soon, Yixing arrived at the Big Dipper mansion. Under Yang Gang's lead, he saw Wu Yu in the guest hall. Wu Yu looked over 60 years old, but he was actually more than 130 years old. He wore a long black robe and his black hair was tied up on top of his head. He looked very spirited and had an indescribable might. After Yang Gang's introduction, Yixing bowed and said, Junior Yixing greets Wu Yu. Thank you for upholding justice for me. Yixing will engrave this in his heart. Wu Yu stood up and walked over to Yixing. He carefully sized up Yixing, his eyes full of admiration. Chapter 391. Good. Your talent is monstrous, and your battle strength is heaven-defying. You are truly a young hero. Master Wu Yu patted Yixing's shoulder and praised. Yixing's expression remained the same as he said indifferently, Junior's achievements are still acceptable in the true Xian domain, but in the entire star continent, they are nothing. Master Wu Yu said, at such a young age, you broke through the astral realm and became a Taoist. Moreover, your battle strength is heaven-defying, and you won first place in the Young Hero Assembly. But you're not arrogant at all because of this. It seems like your mental state is much higher than martial artists of your generation. Master Wu Yu looked at Yixing with even more admiration. After a short pause, Master Wu Yu went straight to the point and asked Yixing, Yixing, I heard that your sect no longer exists. Are you interested in joining the Heavenly Dipper sect? I am willing to accept you as my personal disciple and do my best to nurture you so that you can become the #1 person in the true Xian domain. On the side, Yang Gang's gaze was somewhat envious. Even he was only a 7th-level Star Dipper Realm Master of the Heavenly Dipper sect, who was also the Sect Master of the Heavenly Dipper sect. Master Wu Yu, on the other hand, was at the peak of 8th-level Star Dipper Realm. Among the 30 or so masters in the true Xian domain, he was ranked at the top and was the 2nd person in the Heavenly Dipper sect. As for the #1 person in the Heavenly Dipper sect, he was already very old, more than 160 years old. He basically did not care about the affairs of the sect and did not accept disciples. In other words, once Yixing entered the Heavenly Dipper sect, he would be above Yang Gang and become the #1 person in the Heavenly Dipper sect, not in terms of strength, but in terms of status. The lifespan of a Taoist was much longer than that of a martial saint. It was 200 years. Therefore, after a martial artist became a Taoist, the prime time for cultivation would be extended. Before reaching the astral realm, the prime time for cultivation would be 25 years old. For astral realm Taoists, the prime time for cultivation would be 35 years old. If one became an astral reaching venerable, their lifespan would be 300 years. The prime time for cultivation would be even longer, close to 50 years. 99% of the time when a martial artist's cultivation increased was during the golden period of cultivation. Once they exceeded the golden period, their potential would be exhausted and it would be very difficult for their cultivation to increase again. In the future, after a long period of accumulation, it would be very good if they could increase their cultivation by 1 or 2 realms. There were also martial artists who didn't perform well during the golden age of cultivation, but when they got older, they would have a sudden epiphany and their cultivation would soar. However, this kind of late bloomer situation was extremely rare and could only be considered a special case. It was precisely because it was difficult for martial artists to increase their cultivation after the golden period of cultivation. Therefore, the cultivation of the elders of the various large sects was not much higher than the cultivation of the younger disciples who were about to finish their apprenticeship during the golden period. In fact, some of the outstanding disciples had already surpassed some of the elders during the golden period. Before the age of 35, it was the golden age for enlightened masters to cultivate. Therefore, enlightened masters' disciples finished their apprenticeship at an older age than martial saints' disciples. Yang was the one with the highest cultivation among the Tiangang sect's disciples under the age of 25. However, he wasn't the one with the highest cultivation among all the disciples. Some disciples over the age of 30 with outstanding talent were already at the 5th or 6th level of the Star Dipper realm. However, regardless of whether they were at the 5th or 6th level of the Star Dipper realm, their masters couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as Wuyu. Therefore, if Yi Xing was accepted as a personal disciple by Wuyu, his position would definitely be the highest among the Tiangang sect's disciples. Even Yang, who was the sect master's personal disciple, couldn't compare. However, to Yang's surprise, Yi Xing rejected Wuyu just like how he rejected enlightened Master Gutai. Yi Xing showed the sect master's ring in his hand and said, "Thank you for your appreciation, master." However, as the sect master of this junior only wants to rebuild the falling star sect. I won't change my allegiance to any sect in the true Xian region. Please forgive me, master. Yang was surprised, and so was Wuyu. Master Wuyu, was in existence ranked 7th on the heavenly profound ranking. With a stomp of his foot, the entire martial world of the true Xian domain would move. How many people wanted to become his disciple? However, ever since Wuyu nurtured a 7th-level Star Dipper Realm Master for the Tiangang sect 40 years ago, he hadn't accepted any other disciples because there wasn't any disciple that caught his eye. Today, he invited Yi Xing to meet face-to-face and was willing to accept Yi Xing as his disciple. However, Yi Xing refused? Wuyu originally thought that Yi Xing would definitely agree after he said so. As a martial artist, who didn't want to enter a stronger sect and learn more advanced martial arts and inheritances? Moreover, the Falling Star sect had already been destroyed. In Wu Yu's opinion, this was the best time for Yi Xing to enter the Tiangang sect. Therefore, he didn't expect Yi Xing to refuse. However, Yi Xing refused, which made Wu Yu a little dazed and his old face a little hot. Wu Yu stared blankly at Yi Xing. After a few breaths, he said, "Are you sure? If you don't have a cultivation inheritance, even if your talent is high, your martial arts achievements will be limited." Yi Xing nodded and said, "I'm sure. I appreciate Master's kindness. I will remember Master's kindness and will repay it in the future. However, I have no intention of joining any sect in the true Xian region." Yang stared blankly at Yi Xing from the side like a statue. When Yi Xing said this to Taoist Gutai, Yang thought it was just an excuse. However, Yi Xing had refused Wu Yu twice in a row. He finally understood that Yi Xing was speaking the truth from the bottom of his heart. "Martial uncle." Yang immediately transmitted a message to Wu Yu, explaining Yi Xing's refusal of Taoist Gutai. Wu Yu knew that Yi Xing had also refused the White Bone sect's invitation. After confirming that Yi Xing would not leave the He side, Wu Yu said, "Yi Xing, even if you don't join the Big Dipper sect, I will still treat you as a friend. If you have any difficulties in the true Xian region, you can come to me." The Big Dipper sect will settle it for you. However, you are not a disciple of my Big Dipper sect. My sect's supreme-grade spiritual inheritance cannot be imparted to you. Any sect relied on the inheritance of cultivation techniques as its foundation. Without the inheritance, one's cultivation would not be able to increase. It was the most important thing for the sect. If one was not a core member of the sect, they would not have the opportunity to learn the highest level inheritance. Moreover, even the core members would have to swear an oath to not impart the highest level inheritance to outsiders. If Yi Xing did not join the Big Dipper sect, no matter how much Wu Yu valued Yi Xing, he would not impart the highest level inheritance of the Big Dipper sect to Yi Xing. As Wu Yu spoke, he took out a secret manual and gave it to Yi Xing. He said, "I can't impart the inheritance to you. However, I can teach you martial arts. I saw that the spear technique you used at the Hero Assembly was a middle-grade spiritual martial art. This is the Flaming Sun Spear technique, an upper-grade spiritual martial art. I'll give it to you as a gift." Chapter 392. Thank you, Master. Yi Xing did not decline Master Wu Yu's goodwill and accepted the Flaming Sun Spear art manual. Yi Xing kept the manual in his storage ring and said, "When I leave the true Xin region in the future, if I have any achievements, I will repay the Tiangang sect tenfold." Master Wu Yu chuckled and nodded at Yi Xing. Let's talk about the future in the future. Yi Xing, are you preparing to return to the Qingyun region? Yi Xing nodded and said, "Yes. My master's legs are crippled. I came to the Nine Heavens City to participate in the Young Hero Assembly for the Resurrection Elixir. Now that I have the Resurrection Elixir, I will return as soon as possible to heal my master's legs. Also, I want to rebuild the Falling Star sect and settle accounts with some people." Master Wu Yu's smile disappeared and his expression became serious. He said, "Yi Xing, since you want to rebuild I have a piece of information that should be useful to you." Yi Xing saw Master Wu Yu's expression and his heart tightened. He said, "Please speak, Master." Master Wu Yu said, "Tomorrow, there will be an auction at the White Bones auction house. A slave will be auctioned at the auction." Yi Xing's breathing quickened slightly. From the change in Master Wu Yu's expression, he could tell that the slave being auctioned was related to him. Master Wu Yu paused and continued, "The slave being auctioned is a disciple of the Falling Star sect. I heard that she is extremely beautiful. Because she is a virgin, she was auctioned." Yi Xing clenched his fists tightly and said, "What is her name? Who put her up for auction at the White Bones auction house?" Master Wu Yu said, "Her name is Lin Tongyu. The Sun Moon sect first went to the Tiangang auction house, but our sect does not auction slaves. Therefore, they went to the White Bones auction house. The White Bones sect is an evil sect. No matter what kind of business it is, it does not refuse." Even though Yi Xing tried his best to control himself and keep his mind calm, flames of anger still jumped in his eyes. When the Falling Star sect was destroyed, he had always thought that Lin Tongyu had died. He had never thought that she was still alive. However, she had been taken as a slave by the Sun Moon sect and sold off in the Nine Heavens City. Sun Moon sect. Yi Xing gnashed his teeth as a terrifying killing intent erupted from his heart. The Sun Moon sect was behind the destruction of the Falling Star sect. Now, the Sun Moon sect was even auctioning off Lin Tongyu as a slave. This completely touched Yi Xing's reverse scale. Sun Moon sect. I will raze you to the ground and erase your name from this world. Yi Xing swore in his heart. Wu Yu felt the killing intent in Yi Xing's heart and thought that Yi Xing was targeting the White Bones auction house. Yi Xing, don't get too excited. Since the White Bones auction house has decided to auction tomorrow, Lin Tongyu will definitely be fine. The White Bones auction house is the property of the White Bones sect. If you can't get her back directly, why don't you participate in the auction tomorrow and bid for her back? You have 10,000 mid-grade star crystals, which should be enough to get her back. If someone competes with you, just bid. No matter how many star crystals you need, this old man will help you gather them. Perhaps you should pay attention to some other people now. The slaves that the Sun Moon sect brought to the Nine Heavens City today are not just Lin Tongyu alone. There are also many cultivators from the Falling Star sect. They have no value to be auctioned off. They should be branded as slaves tonight and sold off in the slave market. It's not too late for you to stop them. The Sun Moon sect's stronghold in the Nine Heavens city only has 4 stars venerable. I will send someone to deal with him. As for the rest, you should be able to deal with them with your strength. Yi Xing cupped his fists and bowed to esteemed Master Wu. He said, "Many thanks, esteemed Master Wu. You telling me all this is more precious than giving me 10 books of the Flaming Sun Spear art. Although this junior's strength is weak now, this junior still has to say that from today onwards, the matters of the Heavenly Dipper sect are my Yi Xing's matters." Esteemed Master Wu nodded and waved his hand. "Go quickly. It's getting late. If you're late, they will reach the slave market. The slave market is under the protection of a few great sections. Once they reach there, it won't be easy for you to make a move." After speaking, esteemed Master Wu glanced at Yang Gang and said, "Send Yi Xing out of the inner city." "Yes, martial uncle." Yang Gang first nodded to Wu, then waved his hand at Yi Xing and said, "Yi Xing, follow me." Yi Xing and Yang Gang left the Heavenly Dipper mansion. They directly rode the silver-winged demonic eagle and flew through the inner city, heading straight for the East City. After Yi Xing and Yang Gang left the Heavenly Dipper mansion, esteemed Master Wu also disappeared in a flash. With the status of the Heavenly Dipper sect, it wasn't suitable for them to participate in the battle between Yi Xing and the Sun Moon sect. Otherwise, they would definitely be criticized by the cultivators of the other 2 camps. Therefore, dealing with the 4 stars sage of the Sun Moon sect should be done cleanly. Esteemed Master Wu personally taking action could be considered a great help to Yi Xing. In esteemed Master Wu's opinion, Yi Xing was worth helping. He was optimistic about Yi Xing's future. After leaving the inner city, Yang Gang bid farewell. Yi Xing was going to the Sun Moon sect's stronghold. There would definitely be a bloody battle. As a disciple of the Heavenly Dipper sect, Yang Gang couldn't get involved. The Sun Moon sect sold the cultivators of the Fallen Star sect as slaves. If Yi Xing went to save them, no one would say anything even if he killed all the cultivators of the Sun Moon sect. However, if Yang Gang was involved, people would definitely say that the Heavenly Dipper sect was killing the cultivators of the sects in the remote areas for no reason. This would definitely cause the dissatisfaction of the lower and middle 1-star sects in the entire True Xian region. In the True Xian region, although the Heavenly Dipper sect was one of the strongest sects, it wasn't the ruler of the True Xian region. Without sufficient reason, it couldn't casually slaughter the cultivators of other sections. Among the sects in the Qingyun region, the 4 north sects all had properties in the Nine Heaven city. The stronghold of the Sun Moon sect was more lively today. The Fallen Star sect was destroyed. Some of their disciples were killed, while others were captured alive. The East supporting sect handed over the captured disciples to the Sun Moon sect. As for the Sun Moon sect, they took the disciples of the Fallen Star sect as slaves and transported them to the Nine Heaven city to be sold. Those who were captured alive were the elites of the Fallen Star sect. They were all in the Star Vortex realm, and there were about 200 of them. With so many people, they could only take beast carriages to the Nine Heaven city. After traveling for almost 3 months, they finally arrived at the Nine Heaven city today. The stronghold of the Sun Moon sect in the Nine Heaven city was guarded by 1 4-star sage, 2 2-star sage, and 2 1-star sage. This time, the Sun Moon sect sent 1 3-star sage, 2 1-star sage, and dozens of marquee realm deacons to escort the hundreds of slaves. After the Young Hero Assembly, Qi Zhua and Yin Qiushui brought the Yin Yang Young Master, Yang Ming, Great Sun Young Master, Yang Gan, and other elite disciples back to the stronghold of the Sun Moon sect. In other words, the stronghold of the Sun Moon sect now had 1 4-star sage, 3 3-star sage, 2 2-star sage, and 4 1-star sage. There was a total of 10 astral realm sages. When Qi Zhua and Yin Qiushui saw that Yi Xing's performance was too monstrous, they originally planned to kill Yi Xing on the street after he left the inner city to prevent future troubles. However, after the Young Hero Assembly ended, Yi Xing was brought to the Sky Star Mansion by Yang Gang of the Sky Star sect. Naturally, Qizhua and Yin Qiushui couldn't kill him. In fact, even if Yixing didn't go to the Sky Star Mansion, the two of them wouldn't dare to kill Yixing. When the two of them planned to kill Yixing, Yixing was only a half-step sage. However, Yixing had already broken through the astral realm and became a sage. His battle strength was so strong that even 3-star sage wouldn't be a match for him. After seeing the battle between Yixing and Mu Xiaoyue, Qizhua and Yin Qiushui knew that they weren't a match for Yixing. How would they dare to kill Yixing? The only thing they could do now was to transfer their hope of killing Yixing to the 4-star sage, Gu Feiyang, who was guarding the stronghold of the Sun-Moon sect in the 9-Heaven City. Gu Feiyang sat in the main seat and listened to Qizhua and Yin Qiushui's report with a gloomy face. The Sun-Moon sect had provoked a powerful enemy with such terrifying potential. This was definitely a matter of life and death for the sect. The Sun-Moon sect had incited the destruction of the Falling Star sect. Now, the Sun-Moon sect was selling the disciples of the Falling Star sect as slaves. The hatred between them and Yixing was irreconcilable. Since it was impossible to make peace with Yixing, there was only one way. That was to kill Yixing while he was still unable to threaten the survival of the Sun-Moon sect. Gu Feiyang nodded at the two and said, "This little bastard is growing so fast. There are still more than 10 years before his golden age. He will definitely become a huge problem for the sect in the future. Elder Qi, Elder Yin, you are right. We can't let this little bastard live. This time, I will personally take action and make him unable to return to the Clear Sky region." Qizhua said, "Elder Gu, I have already sent people to keep watch outside the inner city. As long as that little bastard leaves the inner city, we will be able to grasp his whereabouts." Gu Feiyang said, "He is the champion of the Young Hero Assembly. Tiangang Sect's Wu Yu is supporting him from behind. It is not appropriate to take action in 9-Heaven City. Keep watch. When he leaves 9-Heaven City, I will kill him on his way back to the Clear Sky region." Compared to the Sun-Moon sect, the Heavenly Dipper sect was a colossus. Since Yixing had been invited to the Heavenly Dipper mansion by the Heavenly Dipper sect, Gu Feiyang wouldn't dare to make a move on Yixing in the 9-Heaven City. If the genius that Tiangang sect thought highly of was killed in the middle of a busy city in the blink of an eye, it would be disrespectful to Tiangang sect. Although Tiangang sect could not casually slaughter the cultivators of other sects, in the martial world, the strong were respected. If the weak were to offend them, they would be killed. Qizhua nodded and said, "Elder Gu, don't worry. That little bastard's every move will not escape my eyes." Gu Feiyang nodded and looked at the other 3-star sage, Lu Wanping. "It's getting late. Elder Lu, move the slaves of Falling Star sect to the slave market. We will put them up for sale tonight. Elder Qi, Elder Yin, the two of you should go as well. Otherwise, that little bastard will snatch the slaves on the street after he hears the news. I alone will be enough to guard this place. If that little bastard dares to take action, the 3 of you can work together. Even if you can't kill him, you can still trap him. When I arrive, I will definitely take his life." In 9-Heaven City, Sun-Moon sect had to give face to Tiangang sect and could not take the initiative to attack Yixing. However, if Yixing took the initiative to attack, Sun-Moon sect could justifiably kill Yixing. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.